Hello everyone and welcome back to the SWC2025 America's Prelims, this time for day 2. My name is Evan and with me again, it's Topa V. What's going on, Topa?
I'm doing great, Evan. I'm so excited for day 2 here. We have once again 8 new players, but only 2 of them will be able to punch in their ticket to the America's Cup.
That's right, we found our first 2 yesterday. We'll clock in 2 more today. And then ultimately, we have 1 more day of prelims after this in the bottom bracket next week, Saturday. We're largely going to be going about this the same way as before, guys. It's best of 5 the whole way through today. So these players are going to have a lot of time to get to know one another. And also, just by the transitive property of having a day 3, that means we also are doing double elimination. Here's the overview of the tournament. We're on day 2 of the America's Prelims. All of this is to find our participants for the America's Cup, and ultimately only 3 will go to the World Finals to represent our region and fight for their slice of a $216,000 prize pool. Important dates to mark: November 1st is the finals, and before that, October 11th in Brazil for the America's Cup proper. There's that double elim and best of 5. We're doing pre-bans just like yesterday. So remember, because of that, that means that these players will have ample time to get to know one another as they're fighting. It's going to be great, guys. It's going to be a nice day. And also, we want to make sure that not just these fighters are having the opportunity to get rewards, but also you in chat. We have the return of the SWC emblem event. So as long as you're watching and engaging with the tournament and also redeeming those coupon codes that you see pop up on screen every so often, you'll walk away with SWC emblems, which you can then exchange in their own aptly named shop. Make sure you're saving them up for those premium rewards at the bottom of the event, though. There's an all-attribute scroll in there, LD scroll, Legend scroll, and even a Devilmon. But that's not all that's going on in Summoner's War right now. We also have a collaboration that's live. Currently, Summoner's War meets Tekken 8. The Ultimate Showdown is happening right now on the Sky Island. Log into Summoner's War and enjoy the collab-exclusive NAP5 Heihachi giveaway event, collab scrolls, and more rewards. Looking ahead to today's bracket, Topa, I'd love to know if you have your eye on any particular matchup today.
I actually do, Evan. I'm looking at this match 3 here between VINNY and Pandalike. You know, VINNY had a insane run earlier this year in the Summit, having a 100% win rate. You know, he didn't lose any single set. And Pandalike also, you know, participating in last year's SWC as well as the Summit. I think this is probably the most even matchup. And both of them have a lot of fans. You know, VINNY is probably one of the fan favorites here in the English podcast, and Pandalike very well known in the Brazilian community.
So true, dude. The chat was low-key popping off yesterday with the VINNY support, even a day in advance. And he was actually in the chat telling people when he was going to be playing. We also have the return of such greats as TRUEWHALE and LADRILLO, too. TRUEWHALE being last year's America's Cup champion as well as the year prior to that one. LADRILLO, Topa, now, folks might have known him for the first time through his SWC debut last year, but he's also been a mainstay at Legend tournaments.
Yeah, that he has. You know, LADRILLO, while he might have made his debut in SWC just last year, and obviously did extremely well, making it all the way to 2nd place at America's Cup and therefore in the World Finals, you know, he has been around the competitive scene for a while. His opponent, ORKUT, here is the one newcomer here today. And so far, you know, I feel like the prediction event has gone really well. I mean, I personally have actually gotten every single prediction right. So I would love to see an upset, and I think ORKUT would be a perfect candidate for that here today, Evan.
Dang Skippy, dude. Yeah, we're due for an underdog story. So no pressure, ORKUT, but I'm looking forward to that game regardless. And for folks wondering who qualified yesterday, we got Big V and Raigeki locked in for the America's Cup. And yesterday, guys, it was popping off in these matchups. Like, I'm talking America's Cup / World Finals quality of matches. So I am really looking forward to today. And we are starting out with TUANTUAN versus STAYHIVE. So Topa, tell me a bit about our competitors.
Yeah, TUANTUAN here, historically speaking, he has had a very interesting approach to when it comes to ruining his monsters. We saw him debut last year here in the America's Preliminary, and he didn't use a single monster on will runes. And as well as seeing his ladder play, that has still been the case. So I wonder if he's changed something up for the tournament here, or if his opponent STAYHIVE here has, you know, picked up on that and maybe utilizing some high base speed units like Ren to take advantage of the no will situation.
Yeah, and you got to know STAYHIVE quite well during the Americas Summit, right?
I did, yes. STAYHIVE was one of my teammates during the summit earlier this year, and he has a very unique playstyle. We see, quite a few nice LDs there in the most picked and banned, and I'm super excited to see how he performs here today.
Yeah, let's see how this goes, guys. We're getting into the first matchup here. TUANTUAN versus STAYHIVE at round 1 here at day 2 for the Americas prelims. Let's see how this goes. Let's also, I'm curious if TUANTUAN has thrown in a will set or two. That's fascinating. That's kind of a... Could you tell me why you think he might have done that? Just for fun, trying to limit himself a little bit, putting some weights on?
I think the reason for that is, Will Rune ultimately only really helps you in turn 1. I mean, turn 1 is extremely important. That is why, a lot of people do utilize those Will Runes. But I think TUANTUAN typically plays for, a little bit longer of a match. And in the longer fight, the more turns you take, the less important that turn 1 becomes. As well as he also does have some high speed units, such as Alora, and, pairing that with the 33 speed of the Oliver here, he may just take the turn 1. If you take turn 1, you don't really need Will Rune to back that up.
Yeah, you have a really good point, especially it also goes to show he's probably really confident in his speeds if he's doing that. I think that's a really good observation because, yeah, why would you need a turn of will if your whole team is moving first? Usually a will set is saying that you're not confident. It's like there's a chance that I could get outsped. He's starting off with the Oliver, which was a mainstay first pick on the first day of this tournament too.
It definitely was, and also in other regions, but now already switching to a slower, Bruisers lineup here. As STAYHIVE, I did not actually know that he had that, like Gojo there, but also the Okeanos, very, very stable picks here.
Maybe he pulled it in between the Americas Summit and now. Oh, and there's the Ella that we were talking about. Such a cool monster, a real combo facilitator, and not as bad as one might think into something like an Oliver.
Yeah, I really love that Ella pick there. That is STAYHIVE's probably his staple monster here. And also picking up that Annabelle that has now seen a lot of play. I love this Bruiser pivot from STAYHIVE, getting those healers, knowing that he has to go into a bit more of a Bruiserish long-term fight here.
Yeah, you can tell that he's willing to meet TUANTUAN in that mid-game setting. Nobody's trying to cleave each other. They're not trying to get these early kills. They want some persistent sustain, especially looking at STAYHIVE's draft. And then we got Juno Chow wrapping up on TUANTUAN's side.
Yeah, picking out two, very sturdy, somewhat of a solo monsters here in the Juno and the Chow. Not sure how exactly I feel about this how I feel about these two picks here. There are no wind units present on the side of STAYHIVE, so the Chow is pretty good. Ooh. But I love that Beelzebub, which is probably going to be catching the ban here.
Yeah, I think it's a must ban unit, probably a priority ban, especially following the most recent balance patch. Though, admittedly, it's like the side of me that loves content wants him to stay in the game. I'm sure he won't, but I'd love to see it because we got denied the opportunity to see him in a game yesterday.
We did, but there's a chance that the Beelzebub makes it through, because with the Beelzebub pick, you're kind of forcing yourself to ban in this Oliver here. And if TUANTUAN thinks that the Oliver is not getting banned out, which I guess it is getting banned out, now he kind of has to ban out the Demon. But there's like that little bit of mind games. Now that the STAYHIVE maybe knowing the Demon's going to get banned out, maybe then he's not going to ban out the Oliver, and then maybe TUANTUAN, knows that STAYHIVE knows, then, we have this back and forth, and maybe they both get through, but in this case, they both play it safe and ban those monsters out.
So now we're in a position where STAYHIVE has brought quite a bit of crowd control. And just like last time, there's no Will Rune.
No Will Rune.
You wouldn't expect to see him on some of these monsters, but still, it's so funny because look at this. That means that he's able to just go through very little effort to open up the enemy team. Hope he can do some big damage here. And now the only defense break supplier on TUANTUAN's side is that Assure, the Fire Bayek over there, Topo.
Yeah, but TUANTUAN almost has no team left here. We see the Ella coming in. He's got another Rain of Stones, and that is a dead Juno. And look at the rest of the team. They're like 20% health left. Wow.
Yeah, and now cute little reset. Might be able to clutch up the kill on this thing as well if it double crits. Oh, and here comes the Light Gojo to clutch that up. This is really well done from STAYHIVE.
It's extremely well done, TUANTUAN not bringing any Will Runes didn't really matter in this case, as STAYHIVE did have that Light Gojo moving to remove those either way, but also not bringing enough tankiness in these monsters as they literally just get cleaved by an Okeanos. That is great to see. I mean, it is not full over yet. Don't want to call it on my chickens before they hatch here. Chow could do it, but it's an uphill battle.
It's true. I mean, yesterday, guys, we kind of, both Topa and I became more open to Chow than we were before, I would argue as well. You know, Chow had a really good showing yesterday. He also had a really bad showing, but the really good showing makes me think like, hey, there's a chance he could potentially come back here, although he's probably never going to have Justice up again after this since Okeanos can just keep resetting him. But let's see.
Yes, they have not getting the combo here now. Okeanos awkwardly moving in front of the Annabelle here, not getting the defense break. But now, you know, the attack bars are low, and I do believe Annabelle does have skill 3 available. That slow is going to be very backbreaking this side of TUANTUAN.
Yeah, and it's great. That slow is a super valuable debuff on a monster that auto-cleanses like Chow, because that means you have more opportunity to capitalize on it before he can cleanse 2 debuffs at the start of his turn.
Yeah, and there it is. They have taken the round 1. You know, actually, that still was, there was still a chance. I saw the way, you know, had that Chow gone a couple more violent procs, you know, no dice for him, and STAYHIVE, very, very nice opener. They're basically just removing 2 units from TUANTUAN's side immediately.
You really feel the lack of will runes, I gotta say. Like, that was pretty easy to set up for STAYHIVE.
Yeah, it definitely was, and we'll see how they adapt here in the second round now. It's actually interesting. I didn't comment on that pre-ban there yet, but we had a Vivichel pre-ban that TUANTUAN made. I'm not sure if STAYHIVE has a Vivichel either. I don't think I've seen him play with that monster. Even if he does, he definitely hasn't been utilizing it much recently.
Yeah, so now going into this game here, what do you think TUANTUAN would need to do? Barring, like, backing out and ruining up some units on Will, what do you think he'd need to do to kind of counter STAYHIVE?
I think seeing that strong turn 1 coming out of STAYHIVE, I think TUANTUAN needs to take the initiative himself and go for that turn 1. And STAYHIVE probably noticed that himself, you know, actually pre-banning a Wounsa here, you know, probably taking away one of TUANTUAN's turn 1 options here.
Yeah, also, Ella in the pre-ban makes so much sense. I gotta say, it's always a pleasure watching that unit pop off, because it kind of brings me back to the days of, like, Ganioki in, like, peak, you know, crowd control era of Summoners 4, because she really lets you do some whack stuff, just resetting someone's cooldowns like that.
Yeah, we actually saw that there too. You know, Okeanos did throw 2 Rain of Stones in that very first rotation there with the help of that Ella. And Ella is actually the STAYHIVE's most banned monster. So, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I feel like that is kind of his trademark. And a lot of people have now picked up on that and are banning that monster. But both players now picking up 33 speed leads, and we might be in for another speed fight here.
Oh, yeah. And also, TUANTUAN is looking like he's trying to take a page out of his opponent's book, because he's bringing that Dark Monkey King, Sunjung Lao. That thing can stun, defense break, and more. And he's also gotten a nice buff following the most recent balance patch.
Yeah, he does. That anti-cleanse debuff is quite strong, you know, making it very good against all turn 2 monsters. So STAYHIVE not opting to go for that turn 2, just keeping his foot on the gas for that turn 1. But TUANTUAN is not afraid to pivot to this turn 2 with a Ragdoll.
That's going to get him a lot of incidental attack bar, especially from the light Gojo, since he's got so many AoE hits, and the attack bar from that is going to be helpful to kind of break through some of those slows that we saw.
Yeah, it definitely is. You know, Ragdoll not seeing much play these days. He obviously used to dominate RTA for years, but recently the meta has shifted to a lot of these single target control units, and I guess Ragdoll also receiving a couple nerfs. You're not seeing much play, but I do feel like it is very well placed here and might be poised for the ban as well. I would like to see TUANTUAN pick up maybe something like a Veramos in this last pick here.
Oh, that would be really cool, especially considering he's going to have like a bunch of provokes coming out from Parjanya. He's got the defense breaks there. A Chow is cool. It's a little, you know, I actually would have preferred a Veramos, but this is really cool.
Yeah, Chow makes his return here once again, you know, does have that solo potential, but there's still, you know, heals and also pushback, which, you know, the Fire Cookie does counter to some extent on STAYHIVE's side. But, I mean, I think it's going to be depending a lot on the bans here who wins this draft.
I like the ban on the Annabelle. This TUANTUAN gets to keep his speed lead, but I guess, you know, he wants to be able to push back attack bars, and the Lucia, that fire vanilla, would have really countered that.
Definitely would have. You know, that's a really good combination with the Ragdoll. It's kind of a, you know, which one do you choose to keep in the game? One of them is going to be making it through. Do you reduce less attack bar, or do you give your opponent more attack bar? And once again, we see TUANTUAN with no will runes, but the monkey actually does move first here.
Yeah, so he can try to get a strip and a defense break. Only got the strip off of that. Here comes the light Gojo here to try to take it right back, but ultimately the Monkey King has a strong grip on that immunity.
That is a despair-like Gojo. I mentioned this yesterday, how flexible this unit is. You know, you can rune it on Violent or Swift, but I guess despair is also an option. It actually does get us that. What is going on here?
Dude, what the,
oh my!
This monkey is not letting go. Oh, that's so funny. That he is resisting. He resisted not one but two different attempts to strip that thing.
That was actually 3 attempts. You know, Okeanos' most recent buff has become so consistent with that skill too, getting both chances to remove the buff and reset. But somehow this monkey still has immunity, and that is going to be a huge problem as STAYHIVE's team now has no immunity and the monkey skill 3 is primed and ready to go.
What a funny situation too, because it shows how powerful a set of will runes would be on that monkey, by the way. It's like, you know, it's like he grabbed somebody else's will set instead. That's great.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, it gets the full team stun here, and oh my goodness, Chao getting the violent proc as well, and that is going to be this end of one unit on STAYHIVE's side. Missing a crit.
He's just taking. He opted. Did he miss crit on that wasn't Justice though, was it?
That was Justice. He missed crit there on that Justice, and wow, this is a crazy match. What is going on here, Evan?
Yeah, oh my god. But the Dark Monkey King is by far the MVP. Dude, look at this. He's cleaning up the kills. He set him up to begin with. Honestly, yeah, the Sun Jung Lao did all the work here.
Yeah, I did like the draft from STAYHIVE side, but that is just so unfortunate. You know, I mentioned it was 3 chances to buff remove the monkey. Technically it was 5. You know, that Gojo actually does it 3 times, each having a 50% chance to remove a buff, I believe, and Okeanos obviously 100% chance, and just nothing landing on that monkey. That is just so very unfortunate. And you know, TUANTUAN, well done to him, and he will take this game 2 here.
Yeah, it wasn't for lack of trying from STAYHIVE at all, you know. TUANTUAN evening it up. That's a great monkey. That's going to be in the pre-ban phase next time for sure. Yeah, you know, they're just kind of playing it out. TUANTUAN he was letting the timer kind of play out for that Justice there. That's funny, dude. Funny that Chao didn't have 100% crit rate. You'd expect that.
Yeah, you definitely would. You know, TUANTUAN really leaning on this monster as well. You know, he drafted in the first game, drafting here again when, you know, we were calling for, you know, Veramos. So there were definitely some better picks in my opinion instead of just Chao, but really prioritizing that unit, but not prioritizing runes on it because not having 100 crit. But you also mentioned that the Dark Monkey is probably going to be in the pre-ban, and that was also the case in the first game, and I guess STAYHIVE knew that this monkey is an absolute menace. But STAYHIVE also not giving up here. Maybe this Parchinia could do something, but I see very unlikely.
Yeah, he's got life drain on him, so he is healing over time, but the stuns are going to inhibit that ability. I'm not really feeling the comeback, to be honest. I think there's too many things at play. All it takes is one proc from that Ragdoll to get an ignore defense torrent too, but you know.
And there it is, yeah. TUANTUAN noticing that Oliver is actually what is going to be dealing with his Chao here. And, you know, wisely just taking the Oliver out of the game, and seems like we may have had a connection error here, but I mean, this game is in the bag.
Yeah, it's pretty much wrapped at this point. And there's the Vanessa skill 3 to bring it back, and Parjanya falls just like that. TUANTUAN evens it out to 1-1.
Yeah, that is just such a once-in-a-lifetime performance from that monkey, you know. He may not have will runes to begin with, he steals that will runes, and he is not letting go of that. That is, you know, you don't see very often these days that Okeanos actually misses that reset, and there was already another monster that attempted to remove those buffs as well. So yeah, we're definitely going to be seeing that monkey in the pre-ban here in the round 3, Evan.
Yeah, it was an incredible stroke of luck there. I mean, also, he's probably got it ruined on 100% res, right? Yeah, and there it is. That's just the sort of thing you got to get it out some other way, because if you can't lock down that monkey early, I mean, you saw what happened there, chat and Topa, right? You know, that defense break, the stun, it's backbreaking.
Yeah, that is an incredible skill tree that Dark Monkey has. It's very consistent now too with all those buffs that it's received. And now TUANTUAN pre-banning the Okeanos that almost cleaved him in the very first round.
Yeah, it did. The Oki actually surprised me with the amount of damage that he put out, especially because I was admittedly having some doubt because TUANTUAN had drafted a Chao that game. So I was thinking, oh, the Chao's got this. He's going to outlast it. He'll come back, and then STAYHIVE will have burnt out by then. But the Okeanos really popped off with the Ela.
Yeah, you know, that's something I have to agree with there too. tend to always underestimate Okeano's damage, I mean, especially there on the defense break of the Annabelle, but still, I know TUANTUAN's monsters are ruined extremely tanky, because that is kind of his strategy, going for that longer, drawn-out fights, and not having will runes as a result of that. But now he's not going for that long, drawn-out fights, and he is pushing this turn 1 with double speed lead and probably an extremely fast Jogan.
This is kind of a different attitude from TUANTUAN than we've seen with the games past, because how you pointed out, he's gone for a more bruiser approach. Like, he just kind of wants them to do their thing, gas out, and then he'll clap back afterwards. So how is STAYHIVE going to adapt? It looks like a Fire Megami is going to be one of his answers, and a super fast base speed Ren.
I love that Ren. I even called that out at the beginning of the match. STAYHIVE, this is, he was my teammate in the summit, and he's very aware of his opponents, and he's definitely been watching here too. TUANTUAN doesn't have those will runes, and this Ren with 120 base speed has a very strong skill tree to punish those non-will teams.
Yeah, great call, Topa. That is actually, Ren is probably TUANTUAN's like natural predator out in the wild. No strip, but none is necessary if there's no will runes. So TUANTUAN doesn't necessarily want to be locked in on having to ban it, so he's choosing 2 units that can auto cleanse.
Yeah, this has been TUANTUAN's strategy, even in the previous games too. He seems to go for this turn 1 first and trip his opponent into over-committing the turn 1, and then he pivots to the slower turn 2. We see in this in the other games too, he was picking up a 33 speed lead, he opens with that, and then in the last game also picking up an extremely fast monkey. But then the moment that, STAYHIVE commits to this real high speed draft, he pivots, the ragdolls, the puddings, and all these slower monsters that then might be able to solo out.
Yeah, a lot of people would probably see that as you kind of are diluting a draft, but with him it ends up working pretty synergistically. And I really like the way that STAYHIVE brought out that Sonya call out towards the end, and of course you gotta ban that because that can easily take down a CR at like 10 paces.
Oh, I love this. Look at that. Again, no will runes. The preparation
no
comes
will,
from STAYHIVE, and the Ren is just going to have a field day here, getting that silence as well as attack part actions. And STAYHIVE, that I'm not sure how I feel about this Fire Megumi here, as it's a little bit lacking on the follow-up here, but that is just a fantastic tournament opener from STAYHIVE.
So good. And because of that silence, he's basically dictated what TUANTUAN gets to do on his turns. So he has like 2 turns of nothing to do with any of these monsters except who's going to cleanse it. Like, this is so good.
Yeah, that's so good. Trying to get that defense break onto Oliver. I would have liked to see him use that skill too, however, since, it would be able to push that attack bar even further back. Now that Gojo doing some nice damage as well as stealing that speed buff off the Juno, but that's a lot of debuffs on the Juno and a big heal.
It's the one downside for a play like that, right? Because you inadvertently kind of heal the enemy team. You can push back somebody's attack bar, choosing to keep the Ciara down, which is great. I think, you don't want Ciara to get that turn and proc out.
Yeah, definitely not. That CR bomb damage could be quite detrimental, but it is 2-turn silence, so even if it were the proc out, would not be able to have that bomb. And STAYHIVE, I think, is just going to be able to easily control these 3 left side units from TUANTUAN's side, and then just a 4v1 against this Juno.
This is pretty brutal, man. It's showing that maybe TUANTUAN should have. I mean, it's easy for me to say that, right, when it's being exploited, but he made it all the way up here to SWC without will. So, maybe he knows something we don't.
That's another point here, is that I feel like you should really have these will runes in the tournament. On ladder, you can get away with it because people aren't going to be prepared. Not many people have a Ren runed up. Like I don't have a Ren runed up. People just don't have a monster runed up. But when, you're in a tournament, people are going to prepare specifically against you. And we just saw that come to fruition here. That Ren is just so extremely strong. And we even saw that last year. Zaysas did the exact same thing against TUANTUAN last year. And he utilized the Ren to just take that turn 1 and lock him down.
It's like we always talk about, man, because your ladder team should, in theory, be different than your tournament play team, because on the ladder, even if you run into somebody you recognize, most of the time you'll only play once, maybe twice against them. They won't really have that much time to adapt. Here, it's like they have documentation, they've got homework, they don't have to worry about just accidentally dropping into you because they see that bracket.
Exactly, yeah. STAYHIVE has seen this bracket for a couple of weeks now, and he has had time to prepare. He has had time to watch previous SWCs, dig into other footage, and you know, his homework is paying off here. He does have that 2-1 lead, and honestly, I mean, should have already won the set 3-0, but that Dark Monkey, oh man, we're probably going to be seeing it again here, and we'll see if it's a repeat of that.
That's a good point. That was kind of the hinging moment, wasn't it? Where it turned into a 1-3 instead of a potential 3-0 for STAYHIVE was that monkey. That's crazy, dude. Well, let's see. STAYHIVE is probably well aware of that. There's the Dark Monkey. Does he need to pick it this early? I doubt STAYHIVE has it.
Yeah, I don't think he needs to pick the Dark Monkey this early, but I mean, with how well it did in that game too, I think you could, you know, pick it and only pick that monster and probably solo STAYHIVE's team somehow. But either way, that's going to be paired up with a Sierra, and the TUANTUAN may be looking to go a bit fast again, but once again, you know, no will runes.
So that means STAYHIVE gets to bring his Okeanos if he wants. He could set up a cleave if he is so inclined. He could do light Gojo Oki. Yeah, there you go. Return to what works.
Yeah, that has been his staple for now, and yeah, it's been working extremely well. Well, I mean, I sound like a broken record at this point, but you know, those two monsters did not work against the Dark Monkey, so maybe looking to ban the Dark Monkey, or you know, we'll see if TUANTUAN is likely to pivot to his turn 2 composition here once again. But no, he goes all gas with the Wounsa.
Yeah, dude, it's worth mentioning again and again and again, to be honest, because that was extremely, like, that was 100% some propaganda for 100% res on your Dark Monkey Kings or something. I don't know what this is, like a psyop to get people to rune stuff on 100% res, because that was a crazy amount of resistances.
Yeah, it was, and yeah, we definitely are going to be seeing this Ren return here. I wonder what other fast Swift unit does STAYHIVE have here. He already has the double speed leader, so doesn't need to pick another speed lead, just needs to have another high base speed unit, or a Leo. That also works, you know? I mean, nothing can outspeed that monster.
Yeah. And I hadn't talked about it before, but I did like the Sonya pick before the Leo. I did like the Sonya pick from TUANTUAN too, because he knows that STAYHIVE wants to ban the Dark Monkey King, and now he's putting a little pressure with a snipe unit include.
Yeah, there's no... Ooh, that is a strange pick here. I don't know. I mean, the first 4 of your monsters are just like going all fast, and the Sonya is going to be very fragile either way too. So I feel like STAYHIVE can just freely ban out the Sierra and confirm his turn 1, and I don't think the Pudding is going to be able to sustain the team long enough to, you know, keep him in the battle, but actually just opting to ban out that Pudding. Okay.
Oh, he really respected that one. I suppose maybe he thought it would inhibit the Oliver too much. He's got a lot of attack bar pushback, but yeah, curious to see how that would play out
here. I still think that he gets turn 1 with 33 Ren, and he does, and I mean, this is game over. Like, look at this. Ren is going to silence everything, and he's going to get completely cleaned. So either way, you know, yeah, I don't think TUANTUAN could afford to ban out that Leo in this match either. And I mean, this is just very well drafted by STAYHIVE. Once again, just exploiting the weakness of TUANTUAN and not having any will runes. And yeah, I mean, this game is just completely over. Okeanos is going to come through with that massive damage, and yeah, next game.
Here we go. Yeah, look at that, dude. May it just like so well played. STAYHIVE showing the power of doing your homework, to be honest.
Yeah, TUANTUAN respecting our time there, you know, knowing that it is absolutely game over, and, you know, maybe he needs to go and put on some will runes, because, you know, everyone's seen this. Everyone that is going to be playing, I'm not sure who he is going to be fighting in day 3 in the lower bracket. He's not out of the tournament yet, you know, but if you want to stay in this tournament, you have to respect the fact that your opponents are going to be looking at your drafts and countering that.
Yes, dude, 100%. It's like we're talking about. There is documented footage of these players fighting in various competitive scenes amongst Summoners War. So you got to be ready for that. You got to be ready to get out of your comfort zone a little bit and know that the tricks you were using on the ladder aren't necessarily going to work against your peers here at SWC. STAYHIVE did a great job, and he made it look pretty easy. Though I will say that TUANTUAN, I like his drafts. I like his commitment to the bit. You know, I appreciate that, and also his Dark Monkey King was just super stellar, Toba.
Yeah, it was. TUANTUAN definitely, you know, he has finished rank 8 on the ladder. Once again, we mentioned this, you know, ladder play is different from tournament play, but he does have very good runes, very strong runes, strong monsters. So he does have the the tools to be able to play with these big boys here, in the SWC stage. He's definitely not. I do think that he is stronger than he made it out to see in this matchup here. But once again, I think you just gotta respect the fact that your opponents are going to be countering you, and realize that it's such a glaring weakness of not having any immunity. It's just so easily exploited at this level.
It's true. When you're amongst people when you're amongst the top players in Summoners War, when I used the word peers earlier, when you're up against your peers like this, it comes down to knowledge and research, and they did such STAYHIVE did a great job exploiting that perceived weakness that he found in TUANTUAN's draft. But that's not to say that TUANTUAN's a weak player by any means, because like we said, top 8. And also we had people in chat who said that they put TUANTUAN for their prediction event. So like Topa said, I just want to echo that real quick. Don't be afraid of rooting for him again. Coming back on day 3 next week, Saturday, because he will be back in the bottom bracket. He has a chance to work his way back up to a qualified position. But in the meantime, STAYHIVE moves forward to the semifinals, Topa.
Yeah, he does. One more thing about TUANTUAN there, he started all of his drafts going for that turn 1. I think if you're not going to, turn 1, he went for the turn 1, he wasn't able to get the turn 1. So if you're not going to have any will runes, I think you just kind of have to assume a turn 2 position, which sounds even more absurd. But, that allows you to then go for much tankier units. Because a lot of these units that are, faster and turn 1 focused, if you get outsped, which you are going to be getting outsped by a base speed of 120 Ren, they are just going to be dead in the water. But if you have, your ragdolls, your chows, your puddings, stuff like that, they can withstand that heat. And then you just need to find a way to break your opponent's draft apart a little bit to not get cleaved like that.
Yeah, there was a really funny message in chat that just came through a little while ago that said, only game he won, Monkey stole the will runes. And I think that's a sign. That's a prophetic sign. So maybe I'll take that to heart. Topa, we have our only SWC debut player right here for the day, ORKUT. Tell us a little bit about him.
Yeah, we do. ORKUT, I did not know much about this player before. He is one of our Brazilian representatives. We have, a few Brazilian newcomers here in this year's tournament. So would love to see some of them make it to the America's Cup in Brazil. But ORKUT, yeah, looked him up a little bit earlier here. He has quite a few LDs, but not as many as his opponent here in LADRILLO, who is one of our world finalists from last year.
And he had his SWC debut last year too, but a lot of folks who are tuned in for the Legend tournaments at the end of each RTA ranked season would have recognized LADRILLO from being there frequently. And so he obviously made a great showing in 2024. He was runner-up at the America's Cup, and he got up to be in the world finalist position at SWC 2024 in Tokyo. So this is obviously another one of those matchups, Topa, where it's like you as an SWC debut player have your first match against one of the new greats amongst SWC. This is pretty tough.
Yeah, it definitely is. But, we were speaking about how there's footage of like TUANTUAN out there and people know how to counter him to the fact that he has no will runes. ORKUT is probably the complete opposite of that, There's no footage of ORKUT probably anywhere to be seen. And he might be able to, have that surprise factor and maybe catch someone as good as LADRILLO off guard here and, put some points on the board here, Evan. Yeah,
great point too. Yeah, honestly, having that air of mystery about you can work wonders, right? Because now LADRILLO is going to have to spend at least a round or two kind of figuring this guy out. So let's see what he brings to the table. LADRILLO bringing that Shiho first pick. Yeah, it was pulling back from yesterday, Topa.
Yeah, no surprise there. Shiho has been such an impactful monster, especially after those speed leads have been banned out. People do tend to favor that monster there, but ORKUT, does have another speed lead in the Water Twin Angels, and LADRILLO also picking up a speed lead of 24 on his own on the Ciara.
The Ciara Giano combo works wonders. We talked about it a lot yesterday. So it's like, one sister detonates the bombs, the other helps put them down and opens up the field. It's a tale as old as time, which is apparently 11 years ago, because Summoners War is 11 years old.
It really is, and ORKUT now going for a more turn 2 draft here. Probably needs a Hey Gang here, but LADRILLO does have, he has the Patter. That is also quite a good pick. But as I was saying, LADRILLO does have a Veronica that he might think here that, counters those immunity monsters.
Yeah, and of course a Hey Gang would also work pretty well into this situation if ORKUT wants to bring one. And we got the triple Oracle return. He's debating on the Jogun. I don't hate the Jogun, Topa.
Yeah, can we get a fourth Oracle maybe? Maybe fourth Oracle going once, going twice.
Yeah.
Oh, and it is going to be a Pontos for a secondary speed lead there. Yeah, LADRILLO actually pivoting off of that turn one, going a little bit more bruiser, but still doesn't have a single heal on his side other than that Juno passive.
Just pretend that Pontos is a Lima. It's like just pretend. They both do similar stuff. Just pretend. And hey, gang, like we said, that's just, it's perfect. It provides everything you need. Also, it's not so bad in a situation like this, because we talk about how sometimes Hagang runs out of buffs to activate his passive. That will not be the case here. There are plenty of buffs for this team.
Yeah, definitely not. I actually really favor ORKUT's draft here. I was going to say, you ban out that Juno, there's no sustain, you have a little bit of control, and you're very well protected against anything that LADRILLO is able to do here. You have the buff removers from, either the Wind Twin or the Hagang, which now makes it through the counter of the Pontos. You have, the Hagang or the Patter, the counter of the Gianna, as well as anything turn one. I really like ORKUT's draft here, Evan.
Dude, I'm very surprised that also Hagang made it through. Like, this is kind of complex. I'm with you. I actually like ORKUT's draft better on paper because he's got so many counters to what LADRILLO's bringing.
Yeah, we'll have to see, if he has the runes to back up this draft here. LADRILLO obviously has amazing runes, and that Shiho already bumping a lot of damage into this Ashore in turn one.
And now he's funneling some damage into the Pontos. You don't want to overcommit here, just kind of push it back. Obviously, it's got a pretty high chance to resist. Usually they're built on, units like that are built on high res regardless, and he has yet to use skill 3.
Yeah, that's very well played by ORKUT there too, not taking the chance that, potentially Pontos moving in front of that Gianna and cleansing it, as now Patter has used the immunity, does not want to get stripped here and then bombed by that Sierra. So well played there, but unfortunately doesn't get it, but LADRILLO is not tuned in that matter either way, so it didn't matter. Now he also does have this skill available here to get rid of that immunity and potentially get some crucial stuns.
Here we go. This is actually like so well played right now by ORKUT. He was able to find a hole in the defenses before LADRILLO could. Made the first move going in here. An unfortunate proc from Pontos means that now the twins are silenced. This could be bad.
Yeah, that Ashore, that monkey was able to desync the Ashore turn one, so it wasn't really able to get that damage off. And now that Pontos getting that lucky proc and landed the bomb. That is most of the damage from ORKUT's side gone. But he's still in this, does have the Patter, does have some sustain, but the bombs are going to be coming down and are going to be difficult to deal with.
Yeah, that desync, it did hurt, man. I'm a little worried right now, to be honest. I was really favoring ORKUT's position, especially because he was able to break through before his opponent was. They were at parity with like shields up and immunity, but LADRILLO kind of he's capitalizing on it better because he has so much higher damage at play.
Yeah, that he does. That is definitely the thing that LADRILLO does have going on here. He was able to desync ORKUT's team turn one there, and that really limited ORKUT's damage. And then, he kind of just, LADRILLO did have enough support on his side to weather, the storm and have all of his team come alive when ORKUT runs out of this immunity, and then he's able to capitalize on that with the bomb.
And that was a strong move from the Water Twin Angels. He's reducing the cooldown times on Patter, so that way he's able to cleanse again sooner and deal damage with Wild Blow. He can secure the kill on Gianna right here and transform back if he wants to as well.
Yeah, opting to staying in the bearer form, getting that passive healing, which is very important here too. Now definitely want to use, no, still not using the Wild Blow there. I would have liked to see that, get that little bit more life drain coming out of the skill too, the babies to try and stay healthy.
He also ripped the strip from Hagang there. He used the skill 2 so that way he could open up the Monkey King. I think that's actually a solid investment in his future because now he can hit Wild Blow, and now ORKUT is one step closer to taking down LADRILLO.
Yeah, he's back in this, LADRILLO didn't have any heals, and, that shows. ORKUT, with his very support-heavy draft here, was able to kind of chip through, but if this Sierra gets a proc, it doesn't. The cleanse is available, so that bomb is not coming through, and the double provoke.
That's the cooldown time reduction for the Water Twins coming in handy. He's got that cleanse up. Dude, that tells me so much about ORKUT as well. He decided to just use that Hagang skill 2 instead of waiting for Pontos to rip that skill 3 again. That was really good. It's a little dangerous because, if Pontos had procced at some point, could have had it online. He didn't. This is great. I love seeing this.
Yeah, Ponto's now having that skill 3 available. I don't know, does use it here, but you know, if you now use your Sierra Bomb, you're gonna move right out of this. That's a bit awkward. Oh, and it gets the violent proc, the proc that he actually doesn't want. We saw that LADRILLO actually opted not to use that bomb there to keep his invincibility, but now moves out of it. Pattern comes with the skill 2, and ORKUT will be taking the first round here.
This was very well navigated for ORKUT. It looked dangerous for both players. We learned a little bit about ORKUT during this game too. We know that he's a man who's willing to take risks. He plays a little fast, but he's got that plan. He wants to get that high roll too. That was pretty bold from the LADRILLO towards the end too. He got a very unfortunate violent proc on Ciara, but he opted to hold the bomb too. I would have liked to see him place the bomb since it's on such a low cooldown time. Just take down a unit. You're gonna lose the Ciara anyway.
Yeah, well, LADRILLO noticing there that he has to take out the Patter. There's no way that the Pontos, because yeah, the Sierra will be going down. The only way that you win that match is if you get rid of that Patter, and the Patter had immunity at that point. So I do agree with LADRILLO's decision of holding the bomb there, but ultimately, yeah, getting that unfortunate violent proc, and you know, that spelled the end of Sierra as well as LADRILLO's chance of winning that first match. But we'll see how he adapts in game 2.
It's definitely reminiscent of like folks who ruin their Shiho on violent. You know, we've all been there. We've all felt that violent proc at the worst possible time to leave invincibility and immunity. And then all of a sudden, you're completely defenseless. You know, we're supposed to love the 22% too, but we don't like it when the 22 betrays us like that.
Yeah, I definitely don't. But, you know, that is, I guess, the downside, the dark side of violence. Sometimes, you know, you do get procs that you don't want. And in doing so, you even increase your opponent's chance of getting those violent procs. But now we're in a very fast draft here when they're already halfway through the draft before we even have a chance to say anything about it.
Yeah, they are flying through this right now, and ORKUT taking the Shiho this time. LADRILLO wants the honor of bringing today's first Josephine. Surprised that we've made it this deep into the tournament without it, to be honest.
Yeah, that is actually a great point. First Josephine of the day here, you know, after that Shiho and Okeanos come through. ORKUT was a very, you know, meta-heavy draft here, other than, you know, the Water Twin Angels, not an Oliver, but now also, you know, going to that lower speed, fighting LADRILLO on that speed.
I'm into the Monkey King, the Fire Monkey King with the Rakuni. This is a cute little pairing. I really do like that. It might be signaling a ban on the Josephine, to be honest, but I really like what he's bringing. And also, ORKUT has a little bit of psychological damage being dealt on LADRILLO by getting that first round win.
Definitely, and LADRILLO drafting that Mist in the last pick. I really like the Shizuka last pick as well, but ultimately it doesn't matter as ORKUT is very content banning that out. And once again, I actually quite like ORKUT's draft here. We'll see if he's able to take the turn 1 as LADRILLO is very fast, but ORKUT is faster.
Dude, wow, that is really surprising, especially with the rune quality that we know LADRILLO has. That's crazy. So he goes for the strip, and it is going to be cut in by Josephine, whose passive activates off that stun.
But Josephine missing that skill, so that is so huge for ORKUT here. Now he, you know, could actually just go for that Panda there, yep, and not boosting up the Okeanos, seeing that the Oliver moves in front of the Okeanos. Now Oliver does have a target in the Twin Angels, but it used many of its skills here already, and Okeanos will be able to drop the Rain of Stones here, or is he going to go for the reset on the Panda? He'll goes for the Rain of Stones here.
Goes for the stun instead. I guess he doesn't mind if the Mi Ying wakes up. Seems a little bit dangerous, but I suppose that's fine.
I do like that use, because now he has the Water Monkey skill 2 all or nothing, and today it is looking more like all.
Yeah, after yesterday, I almost forgot that thing can stun at all.
Yeah, no kidding. Josephine getting a violent proc there, already had her passive either way, so didn't really matter, but now locking down 2 units from ORKUT's side. But this Panda is getting low, and the Monkey with that speed from the passive moves in front of it and takes it down.
Wow, and that's an early takedown on the Mi Ying. This is big. This is a big deal for ORKUT right now, because that was the big source of damage for LADRILLO.
Yeah, there's not really a real answer against this Fire Monkey now. You know, you do have resets. Josephine does do some damage, can't control it, but there's still 3 other units on the side of ORKUT as well. So he is looking very strong in this game too as well here, Evan.
Great threat assessment. He really weaved in the targeting at the right point. You know, you mentioned that you really liked the way that he went in on it at the right time while Josephine's passive was down 2. I think that was a great point to highlight. ORKUT's really good at finding these little things to exploit during a game, and that's hard to do in the middle of a tournament, but right now, it's paid off to the point where ORKUT, our SWC debut contender, is at match point against LADRILLO.
You know, I am becoming a huge fan of ORKUT here. This is very clean drafting and very clean plays coming out of him. You know, I actually mentioned this at the top of the show as well. You know, I would have liked to see an underdog story, but man, LADRILLO's looking like the underdog here now, Evan.
Yeah, he's now all of a sudden LADRILLO's the one that's got to be sweating a little bit to put a point on the board. Otherwise, he's going to be sent into the future.
Yeah, ORKUT is looking extremely strong here. I was a huge fan of both his drafts. You know, LADRILLO maybe just needs to fight him on that speed. You saw ORKUT did pre-ban that Veronica in the last match, so obviously that was not available. But that also tells you that ORKUT is afraid of that Veronica. So I would like to see LADRILLO maybe leverage speed advantage there a little bit more.
This is unprecedented. I also just went over to the prediction event right now. I know a lot of folks, you know, he's an unknown quantity in SWC, and I think ORKUT is sitting at a 0.9% vote rate in the predictions. So this is definitely going to be a bracket breaker if he moves forward against LADRILLO right now.
Yeah, and I'm all for it. You know, I am loving this right now. LADRILLO, we going back to that same draft as from round one. You know, the pre-bans are the same. Actually, no, I believe it was Oliver pre-ban, not the Twin Angel ban. So now LADRILLO taking away the Water Twin Angels from ORKUT, but he just, you know, replaced that with an Oliver, no problem.
And LADRILLO trying something fresh here with the Dark Nezuko in his draft as well, bringing a team up. That's cool.
Ooh, but ORKUT taking the Hey Gang as well as the Gianna away from LADRILLO. I wonder if LADRILLO forgot about the fact that ORKUT does have this Gianna, and his draft is looking very good once again.
Yeah, he is definitely winning me over, and he's winning the chat over right now too. I'm seeing a bunch of new ORKUT fans in there. ORKUT saying "Salve" from Brazil right now. This is one of the arbiters of the America's Cup on October 11th right now.
Yeah, he wants to be there in Brazil, you know, for all of his newfound fans, as well as everyone else, and he is making a strong impression here. That is, you know, very fast drafting here. Sonya getting banned out, Hagen getting banned out, and we're going into potentially last match of this game here.
Yeah, guys, out of nowhere, we're at match point. ORKUT has the chance to get a 3-0 up against, admittedly, one of the favorites of this bracket today.
Yeah, we see the Gianna getting stunned there, and actually the speed tuning is a little bit off on ORKUT's side here. That Gianna is moving from the pattern, and LADRILLO is extremely fast, but that Gianna is going to be gone.
Yeah, he's losing a unit really early, and it's kind of a crucial one too. Hopefully ORKUT's going to try to clap back here with a defense break setup into a patter skill 2 on the CR. Oh my god, he might not even need a patter skill 2 with that amount of damage.
Yeah, he does not need a patter skill 2, absolutely not. I was wondering, you know, is that the right play? Going for the kill on the Gianna, Sierra, as opposed to maybe silencing this hacker here. But you do have the immunity coming up from the patter, so you're not that afraid of this hacker here. And I do like that play, getting with that CR. You know, we're sitting even here, 3 against 3, and both teams looking very healthy.
Yeah, and it's so even. They both have immunity. They both lost their oracles. This is crazy. It might as well just be a guild battle 3v3.
Yeah, it could be. Ooh, I believe that skill 3 from the Dark Nezuko does remove buffs, so Ashore getting a nice resistor. But that is also going to be lowering the cooldown. Shiho, but he gets silenced.
So now he can't cycle back. He's just going to lose the invincibility and not be able to do anything about it. He can't get back to his turn faster. This is going very well so far. ORKUT's slowly starting to pull ahead with all these advantages.
Yes, but that Ashore is getting dangerously low here. Now Hacker did also get that nice violent proc, as well as that cooldown reduction coming out from the Dark Nezuko. Has skills available once again, and that slow is going to be crippling.
Uh-oh, yeah, definitely, because now he's going to be taking the brunt damage here from the Shiho skill 1. How much can this Nezuko do is my question here. Is he confident that he can take it down, choosing instead to go in on the Pater, but doesn't actually get anything for it?
Wow, yeah, no pushback there at all. That skill does stun, so I was actually a bit hesitant on ORKUT not transforming back with this Pater. And now Shiho is going to be moving with the skill 3. Pater is vulnerable being stunned, but that is probably going to take out the Ashore. I think ORKUT might just fall short here in game 3.
Oh no, yeah, this is looking pretty bad for him. I don't know if he's got what it takes to go through both this Shiho and the Nezuko. Can do some incidental resets here, but it's not going to hurt the Shiho at all, and that's his biggest threat.
It definitely is, but Oliver does get stunned. I was just going to say, being a wind unit, maybe won't get stunned by the Shiho and does have that chance to then cut in once the Shiho does drop that invincibility and immunity and could still control this game. But now with that stun there, it's looking more unlikely.
Yeah, it's not over though yet. I know that all of our new ORKUT fans in chat, they might be seeing this and they might be freaking out. It's not over yet, although this Nezuko skill 3 is really going to hurt.
That is really going to hurt, followed up by the Monkey skill 3 on a Bandit. Oliver is going to be taking it out, and LADRILLO not going down without a fight here.
Yeah, Topa might be over. It's over. LADRILLO putting a point on the board when it mattered most. Now, ORKUT still has the lead here. He only needs one win. Meanwhile, it's on LADRILLO to get a reverse sweep.
Yeah, it is a reverse sweep. We talk about those, and how unlikely they are, but I mean, LADRILLO definitely is capable of pulling that off here. But ORKUT, probably not too shook by that match there. 1 point, it's fine. He's still at match point here, as you mentioned, and can afford even another mistake.
Isn't that crazy? That's the best part about these best of fives is it's not just one, it's two, technically. When you're in a position like this, you can actually have two, we'll call them mess ups for lack of a better word, before you secure your win. So I'm curious what ORKUT needs to do differently this time. I actually liked his draft. I like LADRILLO's draft. I felt like they were pretty even in that one. Topa, is there anything that you can put your finger on that maybe they need to change going into this game?
No, I agree with you there. I feel like that matchup was very even. It could have gone either way. There were a couple fortunate moments on either side that then ultimately decided the match. And LADRILLO did bring out some different units that he hadn't used in that light hacker, and it worked extremely well, as well as paired with that Nezuko.
Oh, now LADRILLO's quick to pick up those two oracles. He didn't let it slip this time. He might have forgotten last time, but not this time. So ORKUT is replying and saying, fine, I'll take your Water Monkey King. This does kind of give LADRILLO the opportunity to pick up a Heigang if he wants, just to kind of protect that and deny the counter to ORKUT. I'm curious if he's going to pick it up. Nope, he's instead going to incentivize a Heigang pick.
Oh wow, yeah, going all gas, all wind as well, pretty much here on LADRILLO's side. Wonder if ORKUT has, these strong fire units roomed up to potentially counter this.
A couple beefy fire picks would go real hard. He's reaching into his LD5s to pick an Eleanor instead.
Yeah, I do quite like the Eleanor there, and yeah, there's that Fire Megumi, one of those very strong fire picks here. I quite would have liked to see that Heigang here as well, although, it is a triple wind. I feel like Heigang, this is so impactful in disrupting that turn one that LADRILLO is definitely going to be getting this game, double speed lead, double fast base speed units, and that Sonya is looking very scary, probably needs to be the ban.
Yeah, that was a lot of pressure at the end. ORKUT had to ban out that Sonya, unfortunately. He probably really wanted to ban out something like the Gianna or like the Etna that's going to open the game. Let's see how this plays out. I don't know if it's necessary. I doubt ORKUT is feeling ideal following that pick ban phase. Yeah,
the Gianna is looking like it is going to move right after the Shiho here, and that is going to be a strong opener coming from LADRILLO. This pony has to get some good RNG for ORKUT to stay in this match here. Full team stun.
Oh, and now RNG isn't even a factor if Oliver can land this reset. Topa, I'm afraid that LADRILLO might have leaned in here. I think he might have locked in all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. LADRILLO now picking up this speed. He does. I would think that LADRILLO does have the speed. Wait a second. That's the resist. Unit does have skills available, but that is also Monkey is already gone from the picture.
That's true, because yeah, the Ashur was reset, but the pony's still got it. And look at this, LADRILLO. All of a sudden, he's all out of gas. So I would say ORKUT has this turn rotation to try to figure something out.
Yeah, but he's just unable to make it happen. Does get another resist there, but if this CR bomb lands, that is probably going to be all over. And once again, yeah, I do like LADRILLO leveraging his speed here. We saw that decisive turn one from LADRILLO is basically nearly over. LADRILLO did get resisted there as well by the pony, but still, wait, this pony is just going to die that bomb now.
Yep, that wasn't even a factor. Wasn't even able to cleanse. Yeah, guys, we said it at the end of the pick ban phase. That was not ideal for ORKUT. LADRILLO is in a position where he can suddenly reverse sweep. This is it for ORKUT. He's got to turn it on. He's all out of missteps, even in a best of 5. Both players sitting at match point right now. Who will be the semifinalist to meet STAYHIVE in their next game?
Yeah, this is kind of really close all of a sudden. You know, a lot of these matches, well, the couple matches have been pretty, well, actually, no, just the last match was quite one-sided to LADRILLO. So, wonder what ORKUT is going to, you know, pre-banning. You definitely need to pre-ban a key component of that draft. Maybe even pre-banning like something like an EFNA, because that was extremely fast there.
Yeah, I think one of those opening picks would be great. I could even see him just pre-banning the Gianna. I know he's got it, but maybe it's more dangerous in the hands of LADRILLO.
Yeah, LADRILLO is definitely able to use that a bit better. You know, we saw when ORKUT had the Gianna, it died in the first turn. So not quite having the speed to back it up. But ORKUT, you know, go into that wedge jab pre-ban once again that he's, you know, done in games 1 and 3 as well. But I don't think that wedge jab has not been utilized by LADRILLO. I don't think he's even looking to utilize that monster. So not a huge fan of that.
Yeah. It's like he hasn't really given us an inkling of that. Well, with Hagang being in the pre-ban, I thought LADRILLO was going to take the Gianna first, but that is not the case.
Yeah, and I'm also surprised to see that ORKUT is not taking that Gianna either. When LADRILLO pre-bans that Hey Gang, he's definitely signaling that I want to Gianna, or I guess he can also Jogan a bit more freely now.
Are we both just agreeing to not bring her? Maybe? I don't know. What's going on? You know, they're circumventing my predictions here. I thought that maybe one of them would be taking it, considering that her major counter is down there. Okay, ORKUT's going back to basics here. This team worked for him earlier, but he's really hesitant about this 4th pick, Sopa.
Yeah, he doesn't have the Hey Gang to now like round up this trio. You know, you have the double immunity now, you have the 1 counter to the turn 1 CC in the pattern, but that pattern could get banned out and it could get pretty dicey for you. So also picking up that Oliver, maybe looking to contest speed a little bit against LADRILLO here in that last pick.
There she is. She was foreshadowed all the way back in the pre-ban, and she's finally making her arrival in the 4th pick slot for LADRILLO. Opts for the Etna instead. I do really prefer the Etna, actually, because that's going to be that'll let him take out a unit regardless of whether or not the Sonya or the Etna is banned.
Yeah, but now LADRILLO leaving himself only 1 speed lead of that Sierra. So ORKUT actually does have double speed lead here. And if he picks him up, that is not a Swift unit. I would have definitely liked to see a Swift unit from the last pick of ORKUT. Ban out that Sierra, take the turn 1, and control the match from there.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but I think LADRILLO woke up and ORKUT might have gone to sleep on that one. Let's see how this plays out, though. I'm not giving up hope. I'm not giving up hope yet, but I do admittedly like what LADRILLO's bringing to the table a little bit better here.
Yeah, I'm also surprised to see that ORKUT that the Ashore, LADRILLO bans out ORKUT's last pick of the Ashore here, because even in this instance, you know, if that, wait a second, what is going on here? Oh, okay,
wait, what's happening? Why?
He's activating the pattern here so that it moves in front of the Jogan, and now the Jogan can actually remove all of that immunity that the pattern is going to be providing here. Very well played on the video there.
Is that what he's doing? That's really clever.
Yeah, we'll see the Jogan getting that, and this is a crucial moment here. Sierra has to land the bomb, and she does.
If anybody could do it, we knew it'd be LADRILLO. If anybody was capable of a reverse sweep today.
Yeah, it definitely would be, and it is looking very good for LADRILLO now. Man, ORKUT started off so strong, you know, that maybe he got a bit too comfortable here. It's like, man, I'm crushing it, I am killing LADRILLO here, but now LADRILLO fighting back and doing so very formidably, and it looks like he will be taking this set after all.
Yeah, dude. That psychological damage, it's not just a joke. I mean it. When you lose a game, sometimes you get in your own head, and then a reverse sweep happens, and LADRILLO moves into a semi-finalist position.
Oh man, yeah, LADRILLO will be facing off against STAYHIVE there later in the day. But man, ORKUT, I really like how he started that match there, you know, obviously winning the first 2 games, yeah, I love that, but then just couldn't close it out. That also just shows, you know, LADRILLO, I guess that mental damage really wasn't there, you know, he really just stayed focused, probably more so than ORKUT there, and was actually able to accomplish that rare reverse sweep.
Yeah, if anything, it was more real for ORKUT for sure. After losing that first one, you know, I think he started overthinking it. He had it. He was calm, cool, composed, but all it took was that first loss. And unfortunately, LADRILLO was able to maintain that lead. Well done. Although I really like what he did. He decided, you know what, I'm going to put a ton of pressure on in the beginning of the game.
Yeah, we saw some phenomenal drafts from ORKUT here too. You know, another thing that probably changed is that LADRILLO did pivot to that speed. He did utilize that a bit more, and the drafts were definitely a lot more aggressive. You know, we saw that double speed leads, we saw the Sonya come out, the Efna come out, and those were just something that ORKUT couldn't really find an answer to.
It was tough, you know. LADRILLO put him in a tough position, and he had to overcome it. Although, I will say this, from our SWC debut player, ORKUT, I mean, he's inspired a ton of confidence in not just me, but also chat. I think he'll have a great showing on day 3 in the bottom bracket. I'm excited to see what he'll do there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's not out of the tournament, you know, and with, you know, if he can bring that same energy that he brought in those first 2 games, those drafts, the confidence, and, you know, even the risk taking, I think he definitely could make a good run in the lower bracket next week.
Yeah, for sure. People in chat saying that LADRILLO was playing with his food. You know, it's like, yeah. I don't think so. I think ORKUT was really giving him a run for his money there, which is great. That's exactly what I want to see out of the new faces in SWC, Topa.
Yeah, you know, they bring that new confidence, and once again, maybe, you know, since there weren't any content on ORKUT yet, LADRILLO was caught a little bit off guard, like, oh damn, this man came to play here, you know, I didn't expect this. Maybe LADRILLO coming in the game a bit confident and got humbled by those first 2 games, but not shaken, and is able to close that out.
Yeah, big time. And I know folks watching are going to be thrilled about this one, because next up, we got Panda-like versus VINNY. People have been looking forward to this one for a while. Of course, Topa, what can you tell me about VINNY?
VINNY is, you know, one of the chat favorites, as we've established here, and he's a very strong component. He had an incredible run in the Summit earlier this year, as well as, you know, making it to America's Cup last year as a newcomer. So he's definitely back with a vengeance here this year.
Oh yeah, he had 100% win rate in terms of total matches. I think he lost 1 round over the course of the whole thing, like you said, to Jeff Boladao. Then of course here's Panda-like, who made it into the Americas prelims. He's not a stranger to the Summoners War competitive scene at all, though. What can you tell me about Panda-like?
Is that I knocked him out last year. No. Well, that did happen. You know, Panda-like is a very, very strong opponent here as well, and this was my most looked forward match too. I think Panda-like, you know, one of the Brazilians' favorites here as well, and yeah, he fell just a bit short last year. You know, I did get that big over him last one Brazil this year. Wants to represent his country, and he definitely has what it takes to get there, I do believe.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on our Brazilian competitors here to make it to America's Cup, and you know, they want to get qualified. They want to have that home court advantage and represent their country in Brazil on October 11th for the America's Cup. So let's see if that comes to term here. Now, with that said, I don't know if it's you know, he had a really high win rate, Panda-like. He had a high win rate on the ladder. Not a lot of games played though, Topa.
Yeah, that shows quite a bit of confidence. You know, I guess he just wanted to secure his SWC spot, you know, not overcomplicate it. He knows what he's doing anyways, and then just, you know, duke it out in the tournament itself. And as we get into this draft, you know, VINNY's starting with a Sierra as the Oliver, this pre-ban. Panda-like already assuming the position of with that Hey Gang.
Oh yeah, people are going crazy in chat right now for VINNY. By far the chat's favorite of the day. People were so excited to see VINNY play that they were even talking about it yesterday. So let's see what he brings to the table here. What's he playing with? He's got one of the Holy Trinities. Well, I guess it's mostly just Shiho, to be honest.
Well, Sierra and Jogan, also a very strong combination. We saw this utilized a lot in APAC Group A last week. But it's a bit interesting, you know, picking that Jogan and the Shiho against one of their biggest counters in the Hey Gang.
Yeah, VINNY deciding to lock in Aya and Juno. We saw almost this exact same draft yesterday, just with different players.
Yeah, right. Geki was also utilized this Aya Juno combination against that Layla, which has become very popular now. Panda-like, you know, like many Brazilians, really liking that Chao, and last picking that monster into a Sierra. Attack buff Sierra is quite ambitious, but it might just work out given on the bans here.
Love the word ambitious for that, Topa. It's quite ambitious. Oh, he's banning it. I mean, I guess you'd have to.
Yeah, you'd have to, that now it makes a bit more sense. And yeah, Vinny, again, picking the Shiho and the Jogan into a Hey Gang, not a huge fan of that. Already somewhat committing his ban when there are literally 3 more picks coming out, Panda-like. And this Chow might be a big issue for Vinny here.
I think so, because, I can't help but notice that there's a lack of defense break. That Water Monkey's making quick work of the Twin Angels, though, and he can always lock away the Chow for later.
I think going to be a Vinny's way. Just put it in the closet, put it in the scroll, and then deal with that later once you have dismantled the rest of Panda-like's team here.
He's like, that's a problem for future Vinny. That's not a current Vinny problem. I'll deal with him later.
Yeah, by doing so, the Aya is getting debuffed here now, and that Aya damage is not going on the Chow. Juno also getting cleanse blocked, so will not be able to get out of this stun.
It's the one downside here. Yeah, chat, for real. Watch the HP bars here, because Aya's going to be draining everyone for 25% of their health at the start of her turn, so long as she has debuffs applied. But Chow's not here. He's phased out. He's in exile until upkeep on Panda-like's turn, so, he's not taking any damage.
Yeah, he is not, but very weird play from Panda-like, putting that defense break on the Aya. Now the Aya getting an extra turn and getting even more damage, and, this is what we were talking about. That Chow was put away, and now the Chow is back, but the rest of Panda-like's team is gone.
And with a vengeance, Justice does even more damage as allies start falling, puts Juno within an inch of her life. Luckily, there's a provoke on the Layla. She can take it down. Oh no, don't take down the Layla. What am I saying? That's the last enabler for Aya. You need that thing to stay alive.
It is, and that monkey doing incredible damage, and I believe that debuff on the Aya is going to be enough to take this Chow out. Yeah, it is. That is very well managed by Vinny there, and Chow, not that good of a pick there.
Yeah, Vinny saw through that, and he saw the power of Aya. He believed in her ability to take down that Chow. Well done. Super well navigated. I like the way that he used the Jogun passive to put the main threat from Panda-like's team away for a while.
Yeah, I really like that. But yeah, Panda-like also, had a slight misstep there, in putting that 2-turn defense break on that Aya there. But then Aya did getting that, actually even getting rewarded for that, getting the violent proc right out of it. And basically just deleting Panda-like's team with that too, If Aya has a 2-turn debuff on her and gets a violent proc, that is half of everyone's HP gone.
Yeah, you got to be so careful with that unit. She's one where it's like, if you're gonna put a debuff on her, you want it to be something like slow, and then you don't want to touch her again, because every time she's applied with a debuff, she gets bar. So it's like, in doing that, you're accelerating her towards her next turn and undoing all the benefit of having a slow debuff on.
Yeah, definitely. So, Aya, a little bit of luck on Vinny's side there too. Now Vinny taking the CR away from Vinny, and Vinny now responding with that Hagen and the Okeanos. Panda-like does have his anti-stun, monsters available in the Patter, as well as the Josephine here now, though.
Could kind of dip into something similar. Vinny choosing a 33 lead that is not Oliver, going for Vanessa, going down to the wire and picking the fan favorite Misty, who had an incredible showcase yesterday when he soloed 3 units.
And Vanessa, getting that speed lead, a little bit of protection against, Sierra Bomb, as well as being able to set up that defense break for the Misty potentially. Doesn't have a whole lot of synergy with the Hey Gang here, however.
Yeah, that's true. That's very, very true. But Panda-like going for a Shizuka and an Asher to wrap up his draft.
Yeah, Shizuka has definitely been making a little bit of a comeback. There's no Shiho in this draft, but the Shiho invincibility, Josephine being so popular with that revenge buff, Shizuka is definitely making a comeback. She can make very good use of all of those juicy buffs.
He's really debating. Vinny took back a Layla at the end there. He's really considering he goes for the Fire Monkey instead.
Yeah, I do like this pick. I would like to see a Fire Monkey or perhaps like a Masha, some sort of a damage dealer that can deal with either the Ashore or the Seer. I believe one of those two will be getting banned out. I noticed the Shizuka getting banned out.
Nice. And now all of a sudden, he's got multiple units that are armed up against stun. They can do well into the mid to late game on this one. I love the Fire Monkey. He's one of my favorite monsters right now. He just ages so well in the game as he accelerates in speed and power.
Well, that he definitely does. Vinny could be doing a similar thing here in removing the will off of that patter and then giving it that bar, and then Hagen moving after to remove all the immunity. Actually opts to not go for that, and I think that's a slight misplay from Vinny here. Now the patter is able to cleanse everything up, and you used your buff remove from the Hagang.
Yeah, and here comes Panda like. He can set up a defense break on one of these problematic units early. Chip away at the Monkey King early on if he wants to. Oh, he's instead opting to silence him.
Yeah, silencing is a quite interesting play there. I would like to see him save the silence for this Vanessa, because that third skill is no longer a passive, it is a active skill. So silence does disable the revive from Vanessa.
Very good point, yeah, because if he had placed that on Vanessa, he could have killed the Monkey King and not had to worry about it getting revived.
Yeah, but now Ashore does still have that skill 3 available, and that is going to be a huge help to this CR, cleansing all of those debuffs, as well as healing it up. And Panda like in a commanding position here. Not getting a defense break though.
Yeah, he's saved the Ciara. That's enough for the team. Monkey's going to die and come back with attack buff, so now Panda like just has a moment here where he can dispatch that Fire Monkey King before he makes use of the attack buff.
Yeah, definitely wants to get rid of that monster as soon as possible here, but Misty looking to take out that Ciara. I don't know, Vinny is still definitely on the back foot here. There goes his Fire Monkey, and just the Hagang having no synergy with this team whatsoever. I think, Vinny was almost fighting a 3v4 to begin with.
Yeah, I really agree with you. I don't like the Hagang unless he's got some way to put buffs back on the comp. You know, if it would be a different story if there was like a Wind to an Angel or something in the play, but unfortunately it feels like just kind of a missed slot.
Yeah, and, I mean, even if you don't have like any buffs, you can still like utilize the AoE buff remove from the Hagang, but all of your damage is single target. With the the Okeanos getting banned out, there's nothing that combos like at all with this Hagang. There's no cleanse, there's no AoE control, there's there's no buffs, there's nothing that the Hagang really provides the team, and now Ciara's going to land this one on the Misty, and that is probably going to be spelling its end.
And look at that, yeah, the silence preventing the return. Panda-like evens it out 1-1. No player at match point yet. They still have time to figure this out. Vinny can kind of shake that off and get to know his opponent a little bit better. But man, Panda-like is looking real confident right now, dude.
He is, also very well played in the draft by Panda-like there, noticing that Vinny doesn't have anything to go with the Hagang other than maybe the Okeanos, and then just banning out the Okeanos. In doing so, he almost banned out 2 monsters, right? Because that kind of neutralized the Hagang as well. So very, very well drafted and banned there by Panda-like.
Yeah, super well navigated in the pick ban phase. I like that point. That's great. So both of these monsters are still on the table. And he's going to put Pater in the pick ban or in the pre-ban, and Jogun is going to join him down there as well.
Yeah, Pater, once again, Vinny does not like seeing that monster, as we saw even in the last game. I think Vinny, could have navigated better around that pattern in the last game, removing that Will Runes turn 1, giving it that bar, and then Hagang could have removed all that Will Rune after. But, this is also one way to deal with the pattern. Just put it in the pre-ban, put it away.
Some of these monsters have proven to just be so difficult to play around, namely things like Josephine or stuff that wakes up from stun, like the Patter, who's now pre-banned. It's funny that the Shiho is kind of changing the game here a little bit. Now we have to bring all these units that are either immune to stun or wake up from it.
Yeah, Patter, he used to be extremely strong a few years ago, and then kind of went in this downswing where no one really utilized him. But now Patter has seen a lot of play in all regions of SWC. Definitely one of the top LDs currently.
Pater fans rejoice. He is seeing play. Vinny bringing the Chow. Everybody's still having just an incidental Chow ruined up just in case.
Yeah, just in case. Panda-like now, picking up another top tier LD here, and so does Vinny, the Gian on Panda-like side, as well as the Mi Ying on Vinny's side, picking those 2 strong anti-crowd control units, as well as that can solo. So I definitely like those last 2 picks from Vinny.
Me too, especially when there's no Ciara in play, right? That's what made him feel confident in picking the Chow. It's like there's nothing to detonate the bomb, so I'll just cleanse it.
Absolutely. The Ming also being a pretty solid counter against the Gianna, does have that RNG chance of cleansing up his allies as well as having the Josephine, so he is quite well protected against these stuns here. And that is a fast Oliver as well.
It is. All right, chat. These guys are playing for the advantage right now. This is the game that's going to push someone into 2-point territory, which would make them at match point in this best of 5 series. Trying to see who will move forward into a semi-finalist position.
Oh, that is a huge resistance by the Bella Jewel. I know, or at least historically, Panda Like's Bella Jewel used to be 100 resistance, and it's not a damage Bella Jewel, as most Bella Jewels are built on this like crit rate, slot 4, defense for nice damage and the punishment. Panda Likes is on that resistance, and it pays off here as Josephine misses, and now Panda Like is in a commanding position.
Showing a great job of how to navigate complicated passives like Josephine and Mi Ying. Being very patient, resetting the Mi Ying, letting the Josephine passive activate. This is really just a juggling showcase from Panda Like right now.
Definitely. Using that Rain of Stones when the whole team of Vinny was already stunned is a bit premature, but he just has so many stuns. He's so far in his match. She-Ho can now drop up that all or nothing, and his team is still protected with the immunity. It is absolutely nothing, but Panda Like's team is still protected with the immunity, and Vinny just can't do anything here.
Look at this, dude. Oh, no, and the Oliver getting one of the worst procs possible. That unit has the potential high roll hard and also low roll like that, where he just has to skill 1 into immunity. This is looking pretty much done. Vinny is falling 1 by 1 to Panda Like's draft. Has Panda Like figured this out? It's looking like he has.
Yeah, that Bella Jewel pick proved to be extremely strong there. It did get that resistance, and once again, it's probably ruined 100 res. I wonder how much accuracy on the Josephine of Vinny. Josephine is very stat intensive, so not a lot of them are ruined on that high of accuracy. But, had that landed, he could have gotten the reset of Oliver, and game would have been different. As we saw, the Oliver was completely neutered by that immunity on Panda Like side.
So true, dude. And I mean, she wants, like you said, she wants a little bit of everything except crit rate nowadays, right? Like, she wants everything. So traditionally a hard unit to rune. It's quite demanding. Okay, the pre-bans are out, and 2 of our LD5s are locked down there.
Yeah, the 2 that were represented in the last game are not now going to be available here, and we'll see how the players adapt without these picks, and Panda Like takes Oliver.
And now Vinny taking a Ciara for that speed lead and big bomb damage.
Yeah, no surprise picks here so far. Panda Like, very rapidly responding with a Heigang and Okeanos. These players know exactly, what they're doing here with these picks. Maybe slowing it down now. I feel like those core common picks have been picked out now. Vinny looking to take that Jogan, but once again, it is into a Heigang, which is not the great pairing.
Definitely not ideal. Hopefully he might be banking on that scroll trap, because that scroll trap helped him a ton in that game 1, so maybe he wants to put a problem unit away. We'll see. And he goes for Asher on his 4th pick slot. Oh, it's Pater. I forgot he's able to be picked again.
Yeah, Pater is back here again. So Panda Like now has 2 counters against this turn 1 control and CC, so looking very strong. I don't know what Vinny could really last pick here to counter either one of these, as it would like to just be banned out.
Whoa. Kitian Dasheng.
That is a pick we have not seen in SWC yet, but it's a very strong solo crowd control unit. Vinny knows lowering his aggression here a little bit, going for that turn 2 Juno. I do like that pick, but I do fear that it's just going to be banned out.
Yeah, exactly. It's 2 counter to what Panda Like is wanting to do. These players are taking their time thinking about it a little bit. And now I'm wondering if the Kitian is going to soak up the ban if it's too much pressure with the pushback, or if he thinks maybe he can outlast it, Topa.
I wonder if Vinny is fast enough. If he bans out this Oliver and gets his CR speed lead, is he fast enough to not get cut by the Heigang attack bar boost? Actually, no, Heigang paired with the Patter is just way too much. So Vinny, yeah, just going for the safe route. Definitely expect this Heigang ban, and he's going to be trying to move up this Pater here, and then buff remove the team.
Nice, hedging his bets a little bit. Moves it up. There we go. He is kind of incentivized to throw that. And now Jogun, this is going like clockwork, exactly like you said, Topa. The AoE strip goes out and the whole team is opened up.
Yeah, but there's no AoE follow-up from the side of Vinny. He can, maybe silence one unit here, silence the monkey, and then, ooh, that is a nice violent proc, but I don't think it's going to be enough to one-shot anything. Okay,
What?
never mind, it is.
What? How much damage is on this Asher, dude? I was not expecting that to kill either.
Yeah, and I mean, there goes the counters as well. And well, that was a quick and decisive round 4 from Vinny. Learning from his mistakes in that game too as well, navigating around that pattern extremely well, popping that passive, removing the buff, meaning that against the attack bar, and then he's just able to buff strip the entire team. And with that massive damage, delete 2 units already in turn 1.
Especially on a unit like Kitian Deshang, the Light Monkey King, someone that's traditionally built on the tankier side, the high res side. I was not expecting that to kill, let alone land a defense break.
Yeah, I wonder if this Ashore is... I mean, the Ashore did so much damage. I wonder if he got extremely lucky there, because he landed not only the silence, but also the defense break on the very first hit. And as you mentioned, yeah, Kitian Deshang usually built on a high-res tanky build, so that was shocking to see.
Truly, that was great. Well done. Vinny was super confident in his damage there. So I'm not, you know what? I'm not going to criticize an Asher again. I'm going to be happy to see that Asher again if he brings it.
Yeah, he doesn't need AoE follow-up when he can just snipe 2 units turn 1 like that. That was extremely well done. Was not expecting that at all. But now as we go into another game 5 here, Evan, both players at match point.
Yeah, it's like I'm feeling spoiled right now, dude. Both players at match point, game 5. These have been really exciting. Vinny and Pandalike are giving us a treat right now, dude.
Yeah, they're so evenly matched too. A lot of these games, they have been a bit one-sided, but it has really swung back and forth here. So they're both extremely good at drafting here, and just the slightest misstep or stroke of RNG can definitely swing the pendulum here.
Let's see. This is very similar to last time, except now Vinny is prioritizing his Asher. I mean, I would too after that. After showing like that, yeah, he gets the 3rd pick slot for sure.
Yeah, and Pandalike is back with his 100 res Velajul here, looking to get something done there. And Vinny not picking any more buff removers. Chow is okay. I don't mind. I mean, I'm never a huge slam dunk fan of Chow. I think it's fine here, but I think you do need another buff remover in that slot. And the Josephine is back. Can she land this time? I don't know.
Good question. Can she do what she needs to? She's getting another chance. She's off the bench. Let's see. I didn't... Well, never mind. I'm not going to say that. Then Layla wraps up Pandalike's draft. Let's see what soaks the ban.
I think this is probably going to be a ban on the... Oh, it's a ban on the Chow. I would have expected the ban to be on the Hey Gang, since, that Hey Gang does have that AoE strip and probably built on high accuracy, so can definitely counter this Velajul here. But I guess, yeah, Pandalike does respect that Chow is, a frequent Chow picker himself.
That's the ban of someone who's watched day 1. Disrespecting Chow can put you in a real bad position. A good Chow in a match like this with some equal amounts fire water units that can wreak havoc.
Ooh, interesting plays from Pandalike here. Opting to, get that Velajul skill 3 up right away and not resetting the Hey Gang. Instead of going for the Oliver, allowing that Hey Gang to get the skill 2 off here. And I mean, doesn't miss on half the team, but it lands on the more important parts.
Yeah, dude, I thought he might try to... after what we saw last time, I thought he might try to go for a kill on the Okeanos, but instead he just set up a silence.
Yeah, silence in Okeanos is always a bit awkward, because he does have that skill 1 that just returns those debuffs. And now the monkey also, didn't get controlled. He went for the Twin Angels instead of the monkey, which feels a bit questionable to me. Once again, I feel like I would have liked to see turn provoke on the monkey. But now in after Pandalike, not looking so bad.
He got a very good amount of stuns. The Asher wakes up. He says it's time to fight. Misses every defense break, baby. That's That's my
He misses
Asher.
everything this time. But the Josephine also wakes up. Getting that passive back online is massive. You know, any proc on Josephine is just so huge. And that Okeanos is still near its deathbed.
Yeah. You're right, though, because, I mean, a proc with Josie, now all of a sudden it means her passive's, like, that much closer to being back online.
Yeah, Bellagio not getting the violent proc back into immunity. Not saving this Okeanos. Okeanos will likely fall here after Josephine moves. But, you know, Ashore is also going down, so we're still sitting very even.
Ooh. That activates the Josephine. He could try... does he want to control the monkey? Right? Right? Oh, she missed again, bro!
For the twin. Oh, that is so bad.
No, dude, you hate to see that. That's... Oh, people in chat yelling for Asher to proc. Unfortunately. Uh-oh. And that's a dead Asher.
That is a very dead Ashore. Maybe even... Yeah, can't really go for... Ooh, went for the stun there. Trying to save the Okeanos, but not getting rewarded for that play.
Wait a minute.
Wait, if Ashore procs here now.
Him. Oh. Dude.
Yeah, no Ashore procs to save him. But wait, he might still live. That shield
wait,
is
he might
thick.
still live.
And Ashore is live.
He's still alive. The hubris.
My goodness.
The hubris. Oh no. You go in on the monkey here, dude. You go in. Who cares?
Absolutely, absolutely. A monkey is the damage here. You gotta get rid of the monkey. You straight up win the game. There's no way that Bellagio can do it. And I think Vinny's done it.
Oh, Panda-like is kicking himself right now. He should have taken down the Asher when he had the chance, dude.
Yeah, Josephine finally. The third time is the buffer move and the provoke on the Twin Angels. And I mean, at this point, it's already doesn't even matter. Vinny has done it. He takes it 3-2. Wow, what a close series, Evan.
Vinny becomes Winnie as he moves forward to a semi-finalist position. Well done, dude. Man, Tova, I know Panda-like is rolling right now because I think he should have ripped the skill 3 on the Asher.
I think so too. You know, he tried to keep his Okeanos alive, which I'm not sure. You know, maybe Okeanos had skills. I don't think he even had skills available there. So, but I could be wrong there. Maybe, you know, if Okeanos had skills alive, I guess he would have had the damage to take out the Ashore there. But still, you know, it's just a greedy play either way. Monkey's chance to stun on the skill 1 is 50% before resist chance. So more often than not, you are not landing that stun there, Evan.
Yeah. It was incredibly greedy. We might get a chance to see it here in the highlights. You know, sometimes you go for that and you get rewarded, and sometimes it puts you in bottom bracket next week, Saturday, same time, same place for day 3 at the Americas prelims. Here we're checking out the highlights for the set that we just saw, Topa. What do you have to say following that entire set?
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, this was my match to watch today, and it definitely proved to be, you know, the match to watch today. That went all the way to game 5, and a super close game 5 at that. A lot of these games were pretty close as well, and could have gone either way. So super nice set, and both players definitely very capable here.
Yeah, and it moved like that. Yeah, that was pretty big gamble. That was one of my favorite moments from the whole thing, because that made me like audibly gasp when he took down that Kitian Dasheng. That is one of the most well-ruined fire byacs that Ashore ever. And here's the moment where he came back around, punish the greed, and unfortunately the hubris sent Panda-like into day 3. What a set. That was a pretty fantastic conclusion to that, to be honest, Tofa.
It really was, yeah. That was probably the closest game of the day that we have had here today. You know, it could have gone either way. Josephine missed a couple of provokes, Hagen missed a couple of stuns, but, you know, also there were some stuns and stuff missing from a Panda-like side, and yeah, it could have definitely gone either way. So super excited to see what Panda-like brings in the lower bracket, and maybe he can make a run, you know, all the way through it this year.
Yeah, dude, it'd be so cool to see. I'm fascinated. This is like going to be a stacked day 3, but we're not done with day 2. We have one more matchup in the quarterfinals. We got to find out who moves on to the semis here, and it's a big one, chat. It's Crocodile versus TRUEWHALE, Topa.
Yeah, TRUEWHALE has been lurking all the way, you know, at the end of today's quarterfinals here. But his opponent also, Crocodile. He is not a newcomer, you know, many people may not recognize this name. However, he did play in SWC 2023 America's Preliminaries, and, you know, also utilizing a lot of those Twin Angels on the ladder to get here.
He has. Oh my goodness. And what can't you say about TRUEWHALE? Dude's career in SWC is so long, they practically had to break into a new paragraph, starting all the way back, 2021 America's Cup, and went all the way to the World Finals last year.
Yeah, and the year before. So that is just, extremely accomplished player here. And yeah, he's going for the three-peat. He wants that 3 times in a row. That win rate is extremely strong. He needs no introduction. Let's be real. The runes, the monsters, it's all there.
Yeah, TRUEWHALE is a household name in competitive Summoners War. So really for him, he's probably treating this as just a formality. He wants to run through this tournament real quick so that way he can get to the America's Cup. And here we go. We are off to the races, guys. The last quarterfinals match of day 2 here at the prelims.
Yeah, Crocodile, looking to do the even potentially almost the impossible here and taking down TRUEWHALE, but we saw ORKUT do extremely well against LADRILLO. So Crocodile maybe, getting a little bit of hope from that and really taking their time in this pre-ban here.
Yeah, they're really thinking about what they want to deny each other here. Crocodile confirmed One Piece fit. The One Piece is real, chat.
Yeah, we'll see what I wonder if you have a connection error here, or are they, doing some last minute scouting here? Like, what do we want to pre-ban here? Because this is quite, unusual here in the very first round. I feel like, you should be coming in with a game plan to SWC and, have that all figured out, especially at least for the first game. Maybe, things don't go as you expect in the first game and then you may want to adapt. But in the first game, we're taking 50 seconds to pre-ban. That's very unusual.
Yeah, and all that just to ban CR and Oliver. Let's go.
Yeah, come on.
Everything is right in the world. And
yeah, either way, the wind speed leads are banned out, and Crocodile still, taking his time. Maybe he's savoring his moment, against the great, such as TRUEWHALE here, looking to be on the stage a bit longer. What is he first picking? Picks up a speed lead of Chandra.
You've been playing a lot of Chandra in RTA recently, right, Sopa?
I have, yeah. Chandra, it was obviously very much meta last year with that Chandra Sagar Bella Jewel, but it's still a very strong combination, Sagar did get nerfed, but there's also other pairings with Chandra, just that defend on the skill 2 is extremely strong to divert, damage elsewhere. You can utilize it with units like even the Fire Megumi, right? You put in the Fire Megumi, the opponent's disincentivized to hit that unit, and then when they hit anyone else, the Megumi gains all that attack bar. And we'll see what he pairs up with this Chandra now.
That's a great point. So it's not, it's not just outright protection. It can be a combo like that, right? So then it's like, no matter what you do, he's going to get bar or you're going to get punished. Crocodile lining up a Sekhmet and a Josephine here. I think Josephine is probably one of the chat's most disliked monsters of the day. And TRUEWHALE is ready, bringing a Zeratul who's ready to strip and deal crazy damage to whatever Crocodile's bringing.
Yeah, I'm not sure if many players in today's tournament or yesterday's tournament have this unit Zeratul, but he is a very strong monster. I was just thinking about this, and I'm surprised that we haven't seen any Zeratul at all, because he's a very, very strong monster. I like the pairing with the Rakuni, getting those cleanse against all the debuffs that Sekhmet is able to provide, as well as getting heals when Crocodile does not have any. And picking the Misty and Annabelle. Yeah, the TRUEWHALE brought that Zeratul last year. He was using it in SWC America's Cup, and it was big. Oh my goodness, dude. He's bringing. I think I'm forgetting the original name of this. I think it was Jack, I think. Yeah, that is Jack coming through, but nope, it is going to be taken out for another LD. Oh, never mind, Jack is back. I love this.
Very, very similar to what Zeratul's mission statement is, which is multi-hitting, big damage. That's great. Yeah, I remember Exorcist Association Fighter, the Dark Exorcist Association Fighter, chat.
Yeah, or the Yuji Itadori, but yeah, that is going to be a fantastic last pick here. I wonder, is TRUEWHALE looking to ban out that Sekhmet and maybe just take the turn 1 without having any speed lead himself?
Not the Jack, bro. Not the content.
Yeah, the Jack is banned out and the Josephine gets banned out. Doesn't want this Gianna to get countered, but the Gianna will be getting countered by the Sekhmet, who is likely to be moving first and looking to reset this Gianna.
Look at that, too. Yeah, Gianna's right there, even with no speed lead, she's next to go. Shows you the rune quality on TRUEWHALE. Sekhmet, quick to increase the cooldown time on that, and now Misty can deal some pretty big damage with the defense break setup on skill 2.
Yeah, I can, but I'll not go for that because, I mean, there is no defense break to begin with. Misty's not stacked up or anything, and there's a Rakuni. All those debuffs that you would have put out would just be cleansed out by the Rakuni. And we have a Despair Chandra coming out of our Crocodile here, getting that nice stun on the Rakuni.
Yeah, a very good point, too. Yeah, Crocodile's doing a good job navigating that. Rakuni is kind of difficult to play around like that. You want to set stuff up, but he just undoes what you're trying to do. But now he's gonna heal Zeratul because he's the lowest HP ratio.
Yeah, Zeratul's going to be able to take a couple turns himself, so I believe the healer will still be going that Gianna, which is perfect for TRUEWHALE here. And now looking to get some damage probably on this segment.
Yeah, turn order is the bane there. That's a real problem, unfortunately. So now TRUEWHALE is actually ending up looking pretty healthy, and he can feed that turn right back into Zeratul so that he can confirm the kill on Sekhmet.
Yeah, very fortunate Violent proc there with the Rakuni, getting a bit aggressive there, giving that turn to Zeratul and not the Rakuni, just knowing that this Rakuni is tanky enough and can survive this Misty and the Chandra, even with the defense broken.
This is a real tough matchup here. Crocodile's just now trying to just protect the remaining assets that he has, hoping to bank on a heal from Annabelle, perhaps.
Yeah, I believe the heal will be removed here by the Okeano, so that won't be available. And this Zeratul is just going to tear through the rest of Crocodile's team.
Just at every step, Crocodile is getting denied here. We have the hope for some damage. TRUEWHALE heals through. We have the hope for some heals. TRUEWHALE resets it. This is a really strong comp that Whale has brought into Crocodile. This is difficult, Topa.
Yeah, the Whale beats the Crocodile, at least in this first match here. Or looking like, I mean, it is not completely over. Annabelle, could do some crazy stuff with that skill 1 sleep into additional turns, as well as, violence set on her. But I believe Zeratul is going to be able to defeat this pumpkin here. And now, I don't know how you kill this Zeratul at all.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one. Crocodile's going to have to really think about what he's got going, what he can change in the pick ban phase. Is there anything that you can point out, perhaps? Like, how would you approach a comp like TRUEWHALE's bringing?
Man, I mean, the thing with TRUEWHALE is that, he has this comp and he has a dozen like it. So, you adjusted this comp, then, you're probably going to see a completely different comp coming out of TRUEWHALE. Like, I don't think anyone must really expect that Jack to come through. And, I mean, that caught the ban, but still, the rest of TRUEWHALE's team is just so strong. He has so many monsters, so many runes to back it all up. And it's just a very, very difficult opponent to fight against.
Yeah, I don't know. And also looking into this as well, banning, Jack is strong, but I would almost ban the Zeratul over the Jack occasionally. But I don't know. Do you agree with that? What do you think?
I think I agree with that too. You have this Annabelle, it can't get the slow or anything on this Zeratul because it has that self-immunity all the time, but it would be able to cripple that Jack a little bit more. So, maybe Crocodile being a bit too overconfident in this draft, because that's usually the case. If you're confident in your draft, you can just safely ban out the 5th pick because you already saw the first 4, you responded to those. But I think, the Zeratul was a bigger issue here than the Jack. But nonetheless, TRUEWHALE takes first round here.
Definitely the favorite going into this tournament. TRUEWHALE has, as we saw, a very long history with SWC and competitive Summoners War in general. Like, he is definitely the strongest competitor on paper, I think, for a lot of folks when looking at the bracket. So Crocodile is going to have to adapt. Like Topa said, though, there was an SWC semi recently. It might have actually been prelims last year, but correct me if I'm wrong, Topa, where I think TRUEWHALE brought a completely different comp every single time.
Yeah, I believe that is the exact case. Yeah, TRUEWHALE, he just has, all the monsters, all the runes and everything. And what are we doing here in the pre-ban again, Evan? What are we doing?
I don't know, man. I've taken a long time just to pre-ban like a Zeratul and something else, or like a Joseph. There you go. There's the Josephine pre-ban.
Yeah, you mentioned that yesterday that we might be seeing the Josephine creep into the pre-bans, and it has finally happened. TRUEWHALE does not want to deal with that nuisance, but actually having his Gianna pre-banned. So maybe, still picking the water monkey that, Josephine definitely likes being drafted into.
Yeah, shows you how powerful the water monkey has become after appearing in 12 balance patches. You know, he's now first picked by a lot of the folks here at the SWC prelims.
Yeah, that is just absurd. Dozen balance patches for one monster. Wow. I mean, I guess if that doesn't do it, then what will? But yeah, he's finally, you know, at the zenith of RTA here. And, you know, Crocodile now responding, actually taking TRUEWHALE's monsters away from him.
Love that. I really like that Crocodile's just reaching into TRUEWHALE's box a little bit and taking some monsters, making him do something different. And also, neither of these is necessarily bad for what Crocodile is ultimately going to try to do. You know, Zeratul is just so independently great the way he self-heals. He has the attack buff and his immunity. So it's like these monsters are never like really a bad pick.
Right, yes. Zeratul also has that element neutrality against everything, and CR bombs, you know, those don't care about element. So it's a very well-rounded draft here. Now, going back to Annabelle, I feel like this Annabelle is a little bit misplaced. You know, I have hyped up this monster a little bit recently, but into an Oliver and this early when there's, you know, no like Okeanos, no Ashore, no like real fire threat, I feel like it's a little bit misplaced here, Evan.
Yeah, and now I agree with that assessment. And now TRUEWHALE is bringing the Dark Monkey King, who has just dominated when he makes it into a game, and Shizuka to follow up.
I do like these last picks. And, you know, as mentioned, I believe, is this 5 new different monsters from TRUEWHALE compared to the first round? So he has brought a completely different draft.
He likes to do this sort of thing in the prelims, I think. You know, he doesn't want to repeat monsters because it's like you said. I mean, it's exactly what you highlighted last time, right? You know, you figure it out, you download that comp, and you're like, okay, I can counter this. But now Psych TRUEWHALE has completely changed it, and you're out of luck.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Crocodile took away the Zeratul. It's like TRUEWHALE says, no problem. Let me just bring, you know, some of my other toys here that I have out in that Dark Monkey is super nice. And yeah, the Shizuka pairing with the monkey is also super cool, as well as it's able to tap off, you know, from the Zeratul and apply it to its own team.
Here we go. The bans go out. Jogun's catching a ban, and the Fire Megami as well. Nice choices. Now TRUEWHALE is in a position where he can kind of open up the Zeratul, because that's the main thing that's going to have immunity on it most of the time, and then just let loose on that monkey's skill 3.
Yeah, I think he wants to control the Layla and the Zeratul here. I mean, those are the only 2 buff removers here. Depending on the Zeratul speed tuning, I hope Crocodile does have it tuned in front of the Sierra to, you know, be able to remove that immunity and then Sierra bomb. Because if that's not the case, then this Layla is just going to be controlled, and Crocodile's going to have a bunch of awkward turns right into immunity.
Good point. And are you able to tell on that attack? I'm not sure which... He resisted it. That was hard. It looks like the Zeratul actually might be moving ahead of the CR. It's kind of hard to tell when they're both maxed out like that.
Yeah, it is pretty hard to tell, but yeah, that's definitely the right play from TRUEWHALE. Now he has to go into Layla. Yeah, Zeratul does move first. So up now go for the Zeratul first and getting the Violent Frost to now reset the Layla as well.
TRUEWHALE doing everything he wants to do in that one turn. Gets both immunity and invincibility. Look at that. Shizuka's doing her best Pontos impression right now.
Yeah, she really is. You know, a bit unfortunate there for TRUEWHALE to not get the stun on the Zeratul, but then, you know, Oliver getting that clutch Violent Procs. I don't think Oliver would have been able to move twice otherwise, you know, as the attack bars were very full there.
Yeah, Oliver is going to cycle out of his buffs right here, but it's not going to matter.
Oh boy, here
comes that Dark Monkey King skill 3 on a fully open board. TRUEWHALE is furthering his position here.
Yes, and now getting that nice skill 2 on the Water Monkey, so he's going to have his permanent invincibility on himself. Probably going to be taking out the Zeratul here as well, and I mean, TRUEWHALE is just in such a commanding position.
This is great. TRUEWHALE is just kind of going through the motions right now. From this point, it's pretty easy. He doesn't have to rush into killing anything because things are stunned and defense broken, and they don't even have skills. Look at this. Yeah, this is just super clean plays from TRUEWHALE. Well done. Shows how expertly he drafts.
Yeah, he got enough on turn 1. You know, he got the buff removers controlled on Crocodile's side, and after that he just couldn't do anything. And from there on out, you know, Crocodile didn't have any protection either. He did not have any immunity on his side without Dark Monkey. I mean, we saw how much damage that Dark Monkey did against STAYHIVE as well. Oh wait, Annabelle, maybe another extra turn might be able to do something.
One more? Nothing. Oh no.
No dice, and that is going to spell end to Crocodile's chances here in game 2, but he's not out yet. You know, we did see a reverse sweep today as well, so that is definitely in the cards. But against TRUEWHALE, oh man, that is a tough order.
So let's play Guess the Pre-bans, Topa. What do you think is going to appear in the pre-bans?
Oh man, I almost want to say that the Dark Monkey is going to make it in the pre-ban again. You know, I think that monster is probably going to get the trauma ban here. And I mean, TRUEWHALE, I don't know. I feel like TRUEWHALE is almost at the point where he could play with his food, and we might see another, you know, Draco-like pre-ban as we did from Raigeki.
Yeah. Might see like, yeah, exactly. Might see like the Dark Slime, you know, something like that. You know, see something out there, and that's putting TRUEWHALE at match point. He just has to do it one more time, and then he's advanced to a semi-finalist position up against VINNY.
Yeah, that's going to be a crazy match here too. They were teammates in the summit. They are guildmates in game, so you know, they definitely know each other very well. And TRUEWHALE against VINNY would be a treat, but Crocodile is not done yet, so let's not call it before it happens here.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, just like how LADRILLO turned it on against ORKUT earlier today, Crocodile could figure something out up against TRUEWHALE. It's hard to do that, but he could do it.
We are going back to the pre-bans of game. Sierra and Oliver, the wind speed leads, are getting banned out. Crocodile opened game 1 with a Chandra first pick here. I wonder if he's going to maybe even take the Zeratul first or go with something else.
I probably still would, you know, to deny the Zeratul just in case, because when I see the Zeratul, I think of TRUEWHALE being in his comfort zone. I think he's really loves playing that comp that features the high damage, the strip potential from that monster as well. So if I was in Crocodile's position, I would either take a Zeratul or I'd take away the Shiho, because I know TRUEWHALE's enjoying playing with Shiho as well right now.
Yeah, I do like that pick. Interesting note here is that Crocodile, you know, did pre-ban the Sierra in game 1 as well as in game 3. But in game 2, he drafted it himself when he didn't have first pick. So kind of interesting to see the Sierra being his pre-ban choice. And TRUEWHALE looks like he's going to show us another totally different team composition here.
Oh, and he is showing us something new, and that's a fun one. Kovarchi and Julienne, that's a cool combo too. Attack buff Julienne, that's going to do some damage.
Yeah, that is definitely going to do some damage. You know, Julienne did get that nerf to his stun rate and kind of disappeared from the meta a little bit. You know, he was very, very popular before that. But also, you know, I guess there have been like Zenitsus have been introduced that ignore those death effects and stuff like that. So yeah, not nearly as strong in the meta, but still able to pump out some crazy damage numbers.
It is. Now Crocodile rounding it out, Fire Megami and Shiho. I think, you know, the Julienne is still capable of one-shotting a lot of these units. I'd like to see him bring something with some defense here.
Yeah, that's a nice pick from the Vanessa too, being able to probably set up that defense break for the Julienne as well as the Gianna. Now, Crocodile does have some self-buffing monsters here, so Heigang is definitely not a bad pick, also providing that AoE buff remove against this Kovarchi.
Mm-hmm. Nice call. I'd like that would be really cool, but TRUEWHALE does not seem too afraid yet. Yeah, the Heigang is great here up against the Gianna, like you called out. He running low on time, goes for Josephine, goes for Shizuka. I'd still like, okay, all right.
I am not a huge fan of maybe the Layla's okay, because he does have the Shiho that is likely going to be taken turn 1. The Shiho Layla is quite a nice combination, as you're able to get that turn 1 stun, which then gives Layla 20% attack bar, and that 20 attack bar is definitely going to be enough for Layla to be moving up right after. And TRUEWHALE with another new monster. Oh man, I just love TRUEWHALE with the Beelzebub now. Wow.
Now what do you ban? I guess you just ban the Beelzebub because it's like you've drafted against the 4, so you just kind of knock that out.
Yeah, I don't know if you can afford to ban the Beelzebub here though, because TRUEWHALE does have speed lead, does probably have fast Kovarchi. If your speed lead or the Fire Megumi or the Shiho get banned out, I think TRUEWHALE would be moving first and probably deleting a unit with that Julienne turn 1 as well as getting the Gianna stun.
Oh, dude, I like where your head's at, and so did Crocodile. He bans out the speed lead instead, says he's going to try his best to just see what he can do with his speed lead in play. Shiho soaks up the ban over on Crocodile's side as well. This is potentially the last game of the set. TRUEWHALE sitting at match point, and Gianna takes turn 1.
Yeah, Gianna is still fast enough, you know. That speed is not enough because you don't have a Swift unit to back it up other than that Shiho, which then took the ban. So, yeah, Crocodile's, you know, does notice that he needs to fight for this turn one a bit harder. But, yeah, it's not enough banning out that speed lead there.
Not quite. This is looking real bad still, but he can provoke the Kovarchi to deny the attack buff from coming out of it, as well as the immunity. Now here comes the Fire Megami, who can stun somebody up. Probably going to be on the Beelzebub, just so that way he doesn't get one-shotted, you know?
Yeah, very well played there. You know, Gianna missing the stun on that Megumi is a bit unfortunate. And now you're Josephine in a 2-turn provoke on the Kovarchi. Interesting to see the Kovarchi was off will here. So, you know, it is a 2-turn provoke now that is going to keep it controlled for a while. TRUEWHALE just opting to go for this Megumi. I wouldn't like to see that go on the Layla because she has skills available, and that is going to be a cleanse block on the Julianne.
That's a good point, dude. One of the only valuable debuffs that can be put on Julianne because he cleanses at the start of his turn. This is Crocodile's like very much still in this right now, especially following this this Layla's turn. Does not land the cleanse block where she needs to though. But yeah, bummer.
Yeah, does get another chance here, you know, getting so much attack power, but opts to not go for it, you know, letting that Julianne breathe a little bit here. But still, you know, there's that demon also lurking on TRUEWHALE's side. If that unit gets one turn, it's going to be a lot of damage coming out.
Oh yeah, like big time. Ooh. And it gets the proc to deal the damage that he wants to. He knocks out the Fire Megami, and now here comes Julianne, non-attack buff, but can still put out some serious numbers.
Yeah. Thinking whether he wants to go for the stun on the Layla to activate Josephine passive opts against the, you know, just going for the massive damage on that Zeratul, almost just taking it out with that violent proc there. Josephine also getting a violent proc, but not being able to control the Kovarchi now gets the buff up, and I believe that is a 3-0 we're looking at here, Evan.
That is the last nail in the coffin. That Josephine was just begging for a stun or something to deny that from coming through here. Let's see what Zeratul has to say about it. I don't think a lot is going to happen here, unfortunately. He can just skill one the Zeratul, or he can bring back the Kovarchi by confirming the kill. Oh dear.
Yeah, going for that massive damage skill too, reviving the Kovarchi with full HP. And TRUEWHALE's team is looking almost as good as new here, while Crocodile is crippled down to 2 monsters, one sitting with an attack buff bomb on her face. So, you know, Crocodile will be sent into the future, and TRUEWHALE moves on to fight his gilded Vinny.
That's right. TRUEWHALE moves forward to a semi-finalist position to face off against Vinny later today. Meanwhile, Crocodile moves on to day 3. Next Saturday, same time, same place at the Americas Prelims. Wow, Topa. That was a great showing from TRUEWHALE. I think we all expected to see something like that from him. He is by far the favorite of today, having 2 sequential America's Cup champion titles under his belt.
Yeah, he definitely is. And, you know, we really saw a lot of what TRUEWHALE is capable here as well. He brought a different draft every single game. You know, like how do you prepare against that? That is just near impossible. And TRUEWHALE just really showing off and getting it done.
Yeah, you can't. That's the best. TRUEWHALE is so good about putting people in these just impossible draft positions. It's like you take that knowledge that you got from the last game and you try to apply it to the next one, but it's like you're countering the draft that he did in the last round. He's not even thinking like that anymore, which is such like, you know, next level knowledge. Yeah, he's able to put all this into practice. Very well done. Nice attempt from Crocodile, though, I will say. Like, there was a moment there where I thought he was able to come back. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to land what he needed to with the Layla towards the end. And we're just getting a montage of big hits from Zeratul right now. I'm loving this.
I love this.
I mean,
this is
they're
amazing.
Not wrong. That's the highlight.
Yes,
they're not wrong.
Pummeled the entire team that round 1. And here we see, I guess we see the Dark Monkey highlight here in the game too, or Monkey highlight in general. that was great. Oh, here we have Zeratul going back at it again, but Demon getting that kill, and Zeratul on Crocodile's side just not doing what it did for TRUEWHALE, and TRUEWHALE getting a 3-0 victory there.
That's the sweep. Incredible work from TRUEWHALE. I can't wait to see what happens now. Vinny's got his work cut out for him, and the semifinals. I'll say that about that, because like, yeah, it's crazy. It's a lot. Okay, and so. Next up, guys, so that concludes the quarterfinals. We have the semifinals to look forward to. We got STAYHIVE up against LADRILLO. And then in match 2 of the semifinals, we'll have Vinny versus TRUEWHALE. All right, Toba, how are you feeling following up those quarterfinals?
Man, we got some exciting games to look forward to. You know, this is maybe to no one's surprise. These are 4 competitors from last year's America's Cup. This is the runner-up, the winner, and 2 quarterfinalists from last year. And yeah, definitely probably the favorites coming through. So I feel like everyone's predictions are still probably looking pretty good, Evan.
Oh yeah, a lot of these are some of the favorites from the tournament today, and same as day one, dude. Like, these are truly like America's Cup proper quality matches. Like, it's crazy that we're getting this in like the prelims, and also, guys, it's crazy that we're getting a coupon. Look at this, we got one at the bottom of the screen. You can get yourself a mystical scroll, the mana to open it, as well as some SWC emblems. Those are the things that we talked about at the top of the show that I'm sure you've been collecting from all the SWC broadcasts. And make sure you're still doing that as we go forward, because there's some pretty premium prizes in that event, including an LD scroll, all attribute scroll, legend scroll, and more. So you want to make sure to get your hands on those, guys. It's going to be great. So redeem that coupon in between. And if you're summoning too, I wish you good luck. I hope maybe you could get some of the Tekken units that you want to get your hands on, because, guys, we are in the middle of a collaboration with Tekken 8. Summoner's War meets Tekken 8, the Ultimate Showdown. It's happening right now on the Sky Island. Log in and enjoy the collab exclusive Nat 5 Heihachi giveaway event, collab scrolls, and more rewards. Speaking of more, we have more exciting games coming up next after a short break. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Day 2 of the Americas Prelims. And Topa, we are moving into the semifinals of the day.
Oh, we are, and these are some exciting matches. You know, these are the matches for a ticket to America's Cup, and we have past year's America's Cup players playing. So these are going to be some really high-level, exciting matches coming up, Evan.
That's right, big names with a lot on the line. You want to win today so you don't have to fight your way up through the bottom bracket on D3. And we're starting out with a bang. STAYHIVE versus LADRILLO with VINNY and TRUEWHALE to look forward to later. These are our last two games of the day, and they are both best of 5, just like every single one from earlier today and yesterday. We've only seen one sweep today, and it was TRUEWHALE up against CROCODILE. Well played. I'd love to hear who the chat is rooting for out of these folks. Who'd you bank on in the prediction event too? Topa, are your predictions more or less in order right now?
You know, my predictions are still 100%. We haven't seen any upsets, and here we also see the results from day one. You know, Big V and Raigeki have already qualified their way to America's Cup there. And yeah, once again, we are looking for 2 more players qualified today and 4 more players coming in day 3 next Saturday.
It's a big day next Saturday. And we were just talking about that, how day 3 is looking absolutely stacked right now, guys. So there's so much more fun to look forward to next week. We still have these 2 games going on right now. So STAYHIVE versus LADRILLO. Topa, what are your predictions going on in here? What do you think we're going to see between these 2 players?
You know, I mean, I think the safe-ish prediction is that LADRILLO is going to take this. But actually, in the summit earlier this year, STAYHIVE was on my team once again, and I pitted him against LADRILLO, and STAYHIVE actually swept LADRILLO 2-0 in the summit. So last time these 2 players met, STAYHIVE got the better of LADRILLO. So, you know, I am definitely thinking that he could do it again here. But, you know, looking at this monster box from LADRILLO, there's a lot of very strong LDs there.
Yeah, good to keep in mind that there's a little bit of a grudge between these 2 players if you look back towards the summit. But we know that LADRILLO's on high alert when it comes to sweeps like that right now, because he almost had it happen to him today. ORKUT got super close to a 3-0, but ultimately LADRILLO clutched it up in a reverse sweep. So he's got that energy. He's got that excitement. Both these players are ready to go. We're heading into the pick ban phase on our first match in the semifinals here on day 2 of the Americas Prelims.
STAYHIVE's also got to be feeling good at this point. You know, he has the momentum from the summit, I suppose, as well as he did his extremely well against TUANTUAN in our first match of the day. So I'm sure, you know, he's going to be carrying that energy right here against LADRILLO. And I'm excited to see, you know, what he has cooked up against LADRILLO to take him down.
Yeah, because if there's one thing that we know about STAYHIVE, it's that he does his research. He really showed that off earlier today against TUANTUAN. And so I'm sure he's... honestly, everybody in the bracket has done their research against LADRILLO and also TRUEWHALE, because they are big names in both just the RTA ladder. You can see that legend title by his name. He is one of the folks who has that rank 1 next to his name, and also SWC history.
Yeah, you almost, you have like a few players to prepare for. Obviously, you prepare for your first match, and then you prepare for who you think you're going to fight in the second match. And I guess if your second match is potentially LADRILLO or, TRUEWHALE, you almost don't even have to prepare for their opponent, as belittling as that might sound, it's almost expected that LADRILLO, is going to be winning his first game and is going to be here now against the STAYHIVE as we head into the draft. And Ella is in the pre-ban, Evan.
That was real fast. Yeah, LADRILLO knows what he wants to target based on that most picked and most banned section of the player profile. Probably drew some inspiration from that. He ran it back right now on those 2 picks, instead opting to take Oliver and Okeanos.
Yeah, STAYHIVE on the other hand, opening out with that Shiho, seeing that LADRILLO really liked that unit, as well as pre-banning the Efna, which LADRILLO used to great effect against the ORKUT there to, get that reverse sweep. And Efna is also one of the huge counters to Shiho, having that higher base speed. Shiho is typically on the squishier side, so it gets locked down very easily by an Efna turn 1.
Yeah, she's one of the things that the monkey really needs to look out for. He's so vulnerable until he puts that skill 3 up, right? So you got to look out for everything. LADRILLO reaching into, I think it was round 3 or round 4 of what he picked up against ORKUT to draw out that Dark Nezuko, who he wasn't sure for a second. I don't mind it here, actually.
I don't mind it, but I feel like Ragdoll feels a bit weird. I guess LADRILLO maybe saw that TUANTUAN did pick the Ragdoll against STAYHIVE and did win it with it. But I don't think it was really due to the Ragdoll. It was that infamous dark monkey that really did him in there. But either way, the Ragdoll will be drafted by LADRILLO here against STAYHIVE.
I agree that it's the slightest bit awkward, only because, you got the light Gojo that's got AoE and might incidentally crit, especially against your dark units, but nowadays your Shihos don't even necessarily need to be on crit rate if you don't want to go that way. You can just rune them on attack, you can rune anything else if you don't want to. He's going for Naruto's dad and Misty in the 4th and 5th pick slots with LADRILLO taking Shizuka.
Yes, they have utilizing the water Shadowcaster here utilized the fire Shadowcaster earlier today, so really bringing these units that we see Minato quite a bit last year, but this year, even after getting buffed in the balance patch, this is the first appearance that Minato has made on the big stage.
Yeah, that's true. We haven't seen him in positions like this, except we are going to get to today. That's awesome. I love watching Minato in game. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, Minato does have that threat state, which makes it somewhat awkward for Okeanos to do his skills, but then again, Okeanos does stun on that skill 3, so if he's able to lock this Minato down, Nezuko also does have that stun. That is definitely the biggest counter of this unit here. But STAYHIVE taking the turn with the Shiho, looking to probably... The Nezuko doesn't move first here.
Instead, he opts to lock down that Okeanos. He's seen the future that Topa's laid out for him, and he wants to deny that from happening. He's trying to keep it from becoming prophetic. However, the Dark Nezuko just cleanses it right up because she just targets the 2 units that have the lowest HP ratio. So I don't know if maybe there was a slight miscalculation from STAYHIVE, but that's probably what happened.
Yeah, it's hard to see those attack bars there exactly, but you kind of have to assume that LADRILLO is going to be tuned. So I would have liked to see that skill 3 put on that Nezuko, because now LADRILLO also does have this immunity on his team here. While STAYHIVE does have some buff removers, that is going to be a thorn on the side slightly.
Nice. Or look at that. They all lose their immunity. Gojo stripping that immunity for himself. Jogun is on his way out the door. This is not looking great for that monster right now.
It is not, but the immunities are gone, and Monkey does have skill 2 primed and ready, looking for that all portion of the skill here this time.
I will say, we're not out of the realm of a Minato solo here, too. I don't think any of us thought that the Jogun was exactly essential to what STAYHIVE was drafting here.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah, that Jogun was absolutely optional, as you always like to say. There was no AoE follow-up for that monster. I mean, it wouldn't be nice, to be able to stroll away the Ragdoll, maybe not the attack bar gain. But either way, without that, I think STAYHIVE's team still functions extremely well.
Yeah, and look at this. So now he can clean up the kill on the Okeanos, and even if he were to go in to the Minato, he's slightly disincentivized to do it because he's going to get that threat state up, which is going to reduce incoming damage and also restrict what LADRILLO's doing. And look, that's exactly what Minato loves to do. He likes to crit off element like that.
Yeah, super nice. Getting that defense break, but Oliver getting a huge violent proc there, also not being able to control this monkey and prevent it from getting that protection up again.
A stun here would go a long way for him, and he gets it. The Oliver is down. Now he's restricted to 1 turn if he procs and none if he doesn't, if he behaves himself like that. Okay, now here's what we're scared of, the stun. That's the one thing that Minato hates more than anything.
Yeah, it's getting stunned right away. This Light Gojo needs to help this Minato out here, but now this Ragdoll is going to be doing a lot of damage, and I believe that is a dead Minato. And this is why Minato is usually falls a bit short. There were already 2 stunners on the side of LADRILLO, so I was not biggest fan of that pick there. I would have liked to see maybe even a Chao, honestly, would have done better in that position as a solo butter unit.
We were all so stoked on the content. We were blinded by the content, and here's Dark Nezuko again, ready to cleanse it. It's very reminiscent of like Ashlar's 3rd skill, except sans the heal, right? It's the cleanse, the immunity, and then it teams up for big damage too. It's such a interesting and fun unit. I love getting to see LADRILLO deploy it like that. Unfortunately, STAYHIVE takes the L in the first round here. LADRILLO has to do that 2 more times though before he moves on to be one of the qualified players for the cup.
Yeah, that he does. STAYHIVE still, he definitely had a plan there, came in with that Water Shadow caster, the Minato, utilized the fire version earlier today. Maybe, overcooked a little bit there, burnt the kitchen a little, but I think he can still definitely, bounce back here in his future games.
Yes, we saw the vision. We saw the vision, that was it. STAYHIVE, it's like we saw the fit. We're good.
We definitely did.
Let's do something like that again.
STAYHIVE is going to have his Ella available in this game, which is, one of his staple monsters, as we keep mentioning, but won't have that Light Gojo.
Yeah, denying that. Let's see what he does. LADRILLO taking the Shiho. Ever the popular first pick amongst the prelims here today. Let's see how STAYHIVE answers back.
Yeah, STAYHIVE probably looking to take some sort of a speed leader. I know he's been favoring that Light Gojo a lot, but that is now in the pre-ban, so does he play with Oliver? I don't think I've seen him utilize Oliver that much, but he does pick it up here alongside the Okeanos to, deny that from LADRILLO. And I mean, this is, kind of like this is like very, very, very meta picks here coming out from both sides, element neutrality on both sides too. And we'll see which direction STAYHIVE decides to take this draft now.
Yeah, in that 4th pick slot, we're going to see probably the most, we're going to start seeing some ambition in this draft. Because so far, like you said, this is very by the books. It's very much exactly. We expected something like a Heigang. Whenever you see a Shiho, you expect the Heigang, you expect a Josephine. Now there we go, Topa. That's what I'm talking about. A little STAYHIVE combo, something that only a few people can pull off because you kind of need Ella. Do you want to? This is a fun one, right? You can tell folks about that.
Yeah, I spoke to you about this combination a little bit, how strong Ella is and how there are some combinations of it. The Ella Irene is a pretty classic combo, it became a little bit less popular since the Irene got that bug fixed to her skill 3, making it a little bit more inconsistent. But the way that this works is Irene obviously bags a monster, gains the attack bar, so you basically gain another turn instantly. You put the threat state on the Ella, so that the opponent is forced to hit the Ella, lowering that skill 3 cooldown, or the skill 4 cooldown, the totem skill, and then you have just all of this cooldown reset refresh on your Irene, and you just rinse and repeat that infinitely. You just keep bagging monsters, keep putting the threat state on the Ella, and the opponent can't actually really do anything because all they can do is hit the Ella, and with one of their monsters in the bag, they just don't get enough turns to do that. But we see STAYHIVE now round out draft with Heigang that gets instantly banned out, and so does the other Art Master here, Evan.
Very fun that it got through. I'm hopeful that we'll get to see it happen from STAYHIVE side. Now, the only detriment here, right, is that LADRILLO obviously has a lot of control set up here in a super fast Shiho that is definitely taking turn 1, can lock down one of the combo pieces with a clutch stun, and then of course here comes Layla to control the rest of the combo.
Oh wow, controls nothing. Absolutely nothing there. I feel like that was a bit questionable from Shiho to go on that Irene, because Irene resolves off will, so I guess that does increase your chance of stunning it, but it's probably ruined on 100 resistance, as Irene does awaken into resistance. So going for that, and then also not removing any of the will runes from the side of STAYHIVE, and we saw how inconsistent Layla can just be, but now Sierra does move here in front of the Ella. Let's get the bomb, and will this be enough to take out the Irene? Not
the blueberry Layla. No, bro, our content. He keeps doing it. Ref, do something.
Content is taken away once again by LADRILLO. Maybe STAYHIVE having a slight misplay there, misread of the attack bars, going for that light hacker as opposed to the CR, doesn't want the immunity to go out. By doing so, he does sacrifice his Irene. Now, Okeanos could still definitely turn this around, especially with that Ella. We saw the combination, how he cleaved TUANTUAN in that first game with the Okeanos Ela combo.
Yeah, that's a bummer. I wanted to see the Irene happen. It's a shame that we didn't get to, but it definitely would have been detrimental to LADRILLO. So, you know, in denying us the content, there's also the other half of that coin, which is excellent threat assessment from LADRILLO and very well dispatched. Okeanos is going to put up an effort here to try to shift the game back in STAYHIVE's favor.
He is, yeah, now Ela being able to lower those cooldowns. Okeanos getting the violent proc, so maybe he doesn't need to use his skill 3. He could just go over totem skill 4 here, which is what he opts to go for. Getting that little bit of heal as well as the immunity to protect the Okeanos.
Dang, Skippy. Now he can put someone on cooldown if he wants to. He can try to deny the proc from Ciara. He can put it on the light hack, and he goes for the light hacker instead.
Yeah, very well played there. Good threat assessment too. You know, that light hacker did get that bottom proc. Had it procced again, it would have had immunity up. But this Oliver has to land this Reese on the monkey, and it doesn't. That is so bad. This is, you know, like you said, Topa, there's a grudge behind this because, like you said, STAYHIVE and LADRILLO have met before. The last time they met in a competitive setting, STAYHIVE took a 2-0 against him, and it looks like LADRILLO wants to do at least that. He wants to pay him back in kind. Yeah, that is just unfortunate. Had the Oliver landed there, Okeanos did have skill 3 available. Monkey would not have had immunity, and Okeanos would have been able to move, do some massive damage against LADRILLO side. There are no heals there, so you know that Okeanos damage would have been hurting. And now Oliver does get a nice violent proc there. May be able to reset the Layla here as well, and Okeanos could still bring this back.
Love that for him. Okay, procs are passing back and forth like crazy. Everybody's getting some. Layla is going to land that cleanse box pretty much guaranteed because of the irresistible debuff that's on there. Here comes Okeanos getting 75% of the efficiency that he was hoping for.
Yeah, but that is still a lot of damage. Good stunts coming out, getting the attack bar absorbed too. Likely moving in front of the Shiho now. Actually, no, not quite. And Hacker getting the proc there, the immunity and the slows, and I think that is probably game over.
You're kidding me. Wow, and I think this is how they fall. He's getting the all instead of the nothing as part of that skill 2 on Shiho, and now it's practically just paperwork at this point for LADRILLO.
Yes, they have not quite having enough damage. You know, that Zero Living, you know, 5% health, that Hacker with 1% health maybe. And yeah, had he had a bit more juice, and obviously, you know, had that Oliver landed there, I think STAYHIVE would have had this game. So a little bit of bad luck on his side here, but he's still not out of it. You know, LADRILLO did have that reverse sweep earlier, and now STAYHIVE is looking to deliver that reverse sweep against LADRILLO here. Yeah,
and he's on the right track. You know, I think we like what STAYHIVE is bringing for the most part, but there's just these breakpoints where it's like, oh man, if this had landed, then, you know, Shiho wouldn't have got the invincibility immunity. It's a lot of if-then situations. I think STAYHIVE's on the right track, you know, and now LADRILLO's paid him back for the 2-0 that happened prior. So the grudge is out of the way. Let's see if STAYHIVE can get it in gear and shape up on this next round.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a difficult one, but yes, like you mentioned, STAYHIVE is definitely on the right track. I do like what he's bringing here. You know, maybe just needs to, obviously, against the players of the caliber such as LADRILLO, you kind of do have to take those risks, and you kind of just have to hope that, you know, the RNG gods do smile upon you a little bit. And now the Dark Nezuko is in the pre-ban.
Whoa. And, you know, I believe in that. I think that was a pretty solid one because she did a great job last time featuring the stuns, the cleanses, the immunity, like great unit all around. I'm wondering if that's maybe STAYHIVE signaling that he wants to try something a little bit, you know, a little spicy, kind of like the Minato again. I'm not sure if it's going to be exactly Minato, but he might try to do something like that.
I sure hope it's not Minato, given that there's already an F on the side of LADRILLO now, given that that is not in the pre-ban. You know, STAYHIVE does take the monkey, but yeah, LADRILLO just instantly snap picks that F-na to counter that. But STAYHIVE getting his light Goja as well as that Shore. Going for, you know, some more Bruisers turn 2 stuff here. LADRILLO is going to capitalize with the turn 1 threat here, Evan.
Yeah, and STAYHIVE's good at, he's brought a couple units that are going to hopefully try to outlast what LADRILLO's bringing, and now there's just so much threat in these bombs. Not this Oracle combo has just been dominating today. Like, if he could bring something like a Hagang or like something like that. The only thing is Hagang is pretty much only useful in that first turn and when Shiho decides to put buffs on. But he's still doing it.
Yeah,
maybe one more thing with buff application or something, and we'll see how it goes. Locks in Okeanos as the 5th pick.
I do like the Heigang here. I would like to see it being paired with maybe like a Josephine, to also, apply those buffs again, as well as counter that turn 1 threat a little bit. But Okeanos is also, nice to be able to dish out that damage back. Okeanos, in theory, can pass the bombs back as well with his skill 1. But LADRILLO is all gas here as he picks up a Woundsa now.
That's a super good point about Oki. Now this makes me wonder what he wants to ban out. Does he favor one of the starters like Etna, who demands a ton of attention because of that base speed and that high threat potential early? Does he ban out the detonator in Ciara? And LADRILLO might want to consider banning out the Heigang so that way his Gianna is not as hard countered. Now he did that, but unfortunately his Gianna soaked up the ban.
Yeah, you almost have to ban out. It's a bit awkward here, right? Because it's almost rock paper scissors in this ban here. If you ban out if STAYHIVE bans out the Woundsa, the Heigang has to be banned out. But if the Woundsa gets let through, then you don't need to ban the Heigang, because Woundsa obviously counters that. But actually the Etna will be moving first here, getting that attack bar and the defense break on the Shiho, now looking to set up that kill here.
And look at that synergy too, because Etna didn't. That was a risky skill too, right? But when you've got a Woundsa on your team, you don't have to worry quite as much too, right? Because now it's like Woundsa filled in for the gap of the attack bar, pushing people back. So now Etna is all of a sudden closer to her turn. She can capitalize on it. Now she can clean up this Shiho, and that's looking like a really strong start for LADRILLO.
That is still very risky because that monkey was off will, meaning that it could have been on Nemesis. And if that was a Nemesis and cut in, oh boy, that would have been big trouble for LADRILLO. So not a huge fan of utilizing the Etna skill 2 there, but alas does not get punished. But Okeanos looking to punish him here as he takes out already one monster.
Yeah, this was admittedly a pretty extreme clapback. I don't know. I keep getting surprised by Oki's damage, etc. So let's see if STAYHIVE can pull this back. And he's opting to leave a little, or excuse me, LADRILLO is opting to leave a little bit early, I would say.
Yeah, that felt a little bit premature, but I don't know if he really had the damage. Those are two very strong fire threats there, even accompanied by that light Gojo there. I think STAYHIVE was in a very commanding position there, but still, there's a lot at line. There's a lot at stake here. A ticket to America's Cup. I don't think you really want to scoop that early.
Exactly. Yeah, just even though he did lack the damage, he lost a big monster. I'm a big fan of give it a couple more turns than you think you need, especially in a tournament setting like that. But we know that LADRILLO is not one to waste time. He wants to strike while the iron is hot. If there's any sign that the iron is getting cool, he's out. He doesn't like cool iron.
Yeah, that might be the case. We did see LADRILLO miss that bomb on the Okeanos with the CR, and even missed the dot. That CR landed absolutely nothing on the Okeanos, and that was ultimately, what put LADRILLO on the back foot there. And I guess he just was done with that. That game never happened. CR never missed her bomb, and save mental, go next.
Okay, and so now, following that, what do you pre-ban? What's your guess for the pre-ban?
Well, I guess we see the pre-ban there already. The players really took their time on that one too. I saw the timer ran down to just 12 seconds remaining there. And we see the same pre-bans as in game 2. And, I did like STAYHIVE's draft in that second game as well. And then, just that one crucial miss from the Oliver that kind of did him in. So wouldn't mind him running it back here.
STAYHIVE is looking alive with this one, though. He was able to get that win. Let's see if he can do it again. Bring it to a 5th round. Remember, LADRILLO is still at game point. This is just as fragile of a situation as it was before for STAYHIVE. The trip to Brazil is on the line, or should I say an easier trip to Brazil is on the line. Whoever loses this one is going down to day 3 in the bottom bracket, where they'll have to fight their way back up to a qualifying position.
That is true. They will start an advantageous position in day 3 as well. But still, you don't want to have to wait a week or 6 days to, secure your spot when you can do that right here, right now. And LADRILLO picking up the Sierra here. Doesn't have the Gianna to accompany with it, but takes the Okeanos for another solid stunner.
That's great. Oh my gosh, a Volantis. I can't believe I haven't even considered a Volantis recently. Something to note too, it's not a huge deal, but Jogun's skill 3 can't be counterattacked. So that's very slight inefficiency, but
Yeah, you know, if STAYHIVE had picked a little bit more anti-CC, which I was expecting to come out here, you know, maybe a Josephine, maybe the Fire Monkey Misty, something like that, but goes for the Ashore, as Annabelle is pretty nice, but goes for the Ashore instead, so that kind of opens the door for LADRILLO to now, you know, pick these crowd control monsters in the Volantis, you know, that is usually heavily countered by, you know, Junos, Josephines, and things of that nature.
So he could do it. And you know what? I got to amend what I said because I realized I'm thinking a couple balance patches ago. I think Jogun actually lost the can't be counterattacked function for the attack bar gain instead. So there was a give and take in that one. So he is very much susceptible to Volantis's counterattack passive.
Yeah, I do believe that is the case. But also, you know, there's the Hey Gang on the side of LADRILLO. So he is quite well protected in this turn one. But STAYHIVE banning out the speed lead. Does he actually have enough speed to not get cut by the Volantis Hey Gang combination here?
Let's see what he's got. Remember that LADRILLO is at game point, guys. This is a big deal for STAYHIVE especially. All right, everybody's on Will, so he's going to have to open it up first.
Yeah, does he dare to use it here? You know, I think he will move. The She-Ho will go next, because Hey Gang's attack bar boost is more than Jogun's. But STAYHIVE's team will move after. Unfortunately for STAYHIVE, he does not get countered by the Volantis here.
All right, and now we got a silence. Remember, Oki can pass that back, which is always problematic. We've seen that happen today. He's resetting the Volantis to deny the strip and the glancing as well. Oliver gets one more turn to kind of do what he wants.
Yeah, that is quite a problematic thing here, because Okeanos returning that silence also counts as a cleanse, which gives the Hey Gang attack bar, but the violent proc, the Radar Stone coming down.
Here comes all or nothing potentially if he wants to cycle. I think it'll get him out of the immunity faster. I'm glad he decided to hold it. Increase cooldown time on Annabelle. Oh my gosh, LADRILLO is shifting into a commanding position following that Oki skill 3.
Yeah, Annabelle has to do some magic here. We need some sleeps. We need some violent procs. Gets absolutely nothing, and you know that all or nothing is waiting for him. Need to use it again. Just getting all those done for once a cycle back in that skill 3, and LADRILLO in a very commanding position here. You know, STAYHIVE just didn't have enough AoE to follow up the AoE buffer move of the Jogun here.
Oh, and just the She-Ho is in his natural habitat, just going into fire monsters, taking them down, and just like that, LADRILLO takes it 3-1 up against STAYHIVE, and he moves forward as one of our confirmed players for Brazil.
Yeah, no real surprises there, you know. Obviously, a lot of players expect to see LADRILLO in America's Cup. He was our runner-up last year and represented us in Worlds, and you know, definitely happy to have him potentially represent us once again. Very strong performance there, you know. Yeah, good drafting, good plays, and ultimately that is what it takes to beat out STAYHIVE.
Yeah, it's like you said, he was one of the favorites for good reason, right? LADRILLO can really, he doesn't just talk the talk, you know, he walks it too. The guy, he put up a great show for us. A 3-1 is nothing to scoff at, especially here. I liked what STAYHIVE was bringing though, dude. You know, we liked his drafts for the most part, right, Sopa?
No, we definitely did, yeah. This Minato in the game one, you know, we like the content. I don't know if I like the actual viability of this Minato so much. And, you know, we saw it just got that one stun and it just disappeared from the battlefield altogether. But in the game too, yeah, definitely had I did favor STAYHIVE's draft here. Just got a little bit unfortunate run of cards, although this Layla also just landed absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it's true. I really wanted to see the Irene Ella combo pop off. It would have been cool, but I guess there was a reason why LADRILLO let it through. He was confident he could do away with it before it showed what it's capable of.
Yeah, that was still a super close game there as well. You know, could have gone either way with all those monsters living at just barely hanging on. You know, couple HP points left, but yeah, STAYHIVE was able to get a nice clap back here in game 3, and this kind of shows why like wounds and, you know, this AoE playstyle just isn't really that strong, because you kind of just run out of juice a lot of the time there, Evan.
You do. That's a great observation. I guess that's why a lot of it is kind of centered more towards like single target strip and damage, like what She-Ho and Asher is providing. Like we've seen a lot of that representation today. You know, the AoE, yeah, the gas out is just such a problem. So well done to LADRILLO. Well done in moving forward as one of our qualified for America's Cup. He was a favorite from today, guys. I'm sure a lot of folks had in their prediction events, that name, LADRILLO, and now he's moving forward to Brazil on October 11th. Meanwhile, STAYHIVE is going to day 3 of the prelims in the bottom bracket.
Yeah, that is, and also we have a crazy match to look forward to here between VINNY and TRUEWHALE. You know, teammates in the Summit guildies currently in the game, so they know each other well. They are very familiar with each other, but that is going to be coming up here shortly.
That's right, guys. Yeah, look forward to VINNY and TRUEWHALE. And right now, guys, too, the Ultimate Showdown. It's happening right now on the Sky Island with Summoner's War Cross Tekken 8. Log in and enjoy the collab-exclusive Nat5 Heihachi giveaway event, the collab scrolls, and more rewards. We will be right back for the last semifinals game after a short break. Hello and welcome back to day 2 of the Americas prelims, where Topa and I are getting ready for the last semifinals game of the day, and it's a doozy, Topa.
Oh, it definitely is, and you guys in chat should be getting ready for this one too. You know, it is Vinny, perhaps the chat favorite, against the favorite of the competition, some might say, TRUEWHALE.
Yeah, dude, this is Titans colliding right here. This is crazy. And of course, right before the break, we just found out that LADRILLO is going to be our first qualified player from day 2 to go to America's Cup. And of course, he's joining Big V and Raigeki, who were confirmed to be going on day 1. Now we just have to find the last one. Will it be Vinny or TRUEWHALE? This is a big deal too, because, you know, this is we'll say the ideal way to get to Brazil on October 11th, because otherwise you're going to have to fight your way through that bottom bracket. Not impossible, right, Topa, but difficult.
Yeah, not only do you have to fight your way through the lower bracket, qualifying today gives you the higher seed in America's Cup. So, you know, you maybe get an easier opponent for the first round, although, you know, no one here is easy. But still, you know, you don't get, you know, there's a little bit of advantage there. Either way, moving on to this final match of the day, Vinny, America's Cup. You know, he was there last year, and TRUEWHALE, he has been everywhere.
Oh yeah, for so long he's been a staple of SWC. In the Americas region, at the World Finals. He's been the legend in the Legend Tournament before as well. It's not an easy opponent at all, so Vinny's got his work cut out for him. But man, Vinny's got a pretty solid win rate, especially when you look up over at the Americas Summit, where he had a 100% win rate over the course of that entire tournament.
Yeah, he definitely does. Vinny is, you know, one of these, I mean, he is an extremely strong player. You know, he's a very likable guy. He's a great guy. Loved meeting him last year, and, you know, would like to see him do well again this year. But, you know, so is TRUEWHALE. He obviously, man needs no introductions, as we keep saying, but yet we still keep introducing him because, you know, he is just the powerhouse.
Oh yeah, bans go out. We saw these pre-bans before earlier today too, and Vinny follows up with a Shiho first pick, the ever popular first pick slot from today's tournament.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how TRUEWHALE responds to Shiho first pick. You know, which one of his 27 drafts does he choose to utilize here this time?
And it looks like he's going for the Oliver Oki one.
Yeah, probably a bit of a staple one here, right? You know, this is probably the Holy Trinity being represented here. Now, Vinny taking up his own 33 speed lead there in the Vanessa, and possibly maybe some sort of a wind unit, or maybe a fire bruiser here as well.
So the wind Twin Angels over on Vinny's side. Now TRUEWHALE is probably going to hopefully pick up a little bit of aggression here. Love to see some more of that.
Yeah, it's, you know, what TRUEWHALE usually likes to do, likes to get that damage in there, doesn't really like to wait on the games, and there it is, the Zeratul is making an appearance. Also, you know, Vinny setting up for a pretty good Heigang pick here that TRUEWHALE maybe could take away from him, but chooses not to do so.
Whoa, and Vinny picking a monster that we honestly don't see too much anymore, especially in like competitive Summoners War, like Masha. It's a big single target damage with a defense break, but she can also protect herself every turn thanks to the immunity on her passive.
Yeah, Masha is definitely one of my personal favorite monsters in the entire game, and we saw a lot of Masha last night and the night before on the APAC Group B, you know, the Korea qualifiers. They really like this monster. But other regions, yeah, she has not seen much play, but, you know, very strong counter against Oliver as well, getting that immunity every time, as well as gaining that speed from Oliver, reducing attack bar. Also buffed in the most recent balance patch.
Yeah, and then there's the Josephine at the end. I was kind of expecting the Josephine to pop up where Rakuni's standing right now. Glad to see it's drafted. Vinny opts to take out that high damage source, that Zeratul, and now all of a sudden it's looking like a feeding ground for Masha's beast here. That defense break is going to go real hard on that Oliver or the Okeanos.
It definitely is. Olivers these days are not ruined on 100 res as they used to be, so that makes Masha even a better counter typically. TRUEWHALE does ban out Vinny's speed lead here as well as the protection of the Vanessa, but the Shiho misses the stun turn 1. Wow.
You hate to see that if you're Vinny. So now Rakuni probably just wants to boost up himself here. Yeah, that's a good thing to do. Everybody's still mostly protected. You've already done everything you need to do. You can just rotate. Right now he's trying to rotate, misses the attack bar absorption. Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's a pretty big miss there, but it doesn't stack up the Mosh now, but oh, misses the provoke there as well, and TRUEWHALE is going to be losing a unit, probably that Okeanos right here, right now.
Yeah, this is tough. That's the breaks, right? You know, you risk getting procced on into defense break, and here comes the Asher to confirm that kill with a skill 1, dealing 10,000 damage. That's the risk of not resetting it with the Okeanos, because you can also like lose a unit early. Well done. VINNY gets a pretty convincing win right there off TRUEWHALE.
Yeah, TRUEWHALE team was actually not quite synced. The Oliver moved in front of the Josephine, which was a slight problem. I do believe the Rakuni messed that tuning up. No, Rakuni boosted the Okeanos. So yeah, TRUEWHALE's team wasn't exactly tuned. You know, had that Josephine been able to move in front of the Oliver, you know, you could have utilized the Oliver and then to reset the Ashore, since the Twin Angel was already reset by the Okeanos. I also would have liked to see TRUEWHALE pick up a Hey Gang, you know, just more consistent buff remover to set up for that Okeanos.
Good point. Here comes TRUEWHALE to take that Shiho. And now VINNY can answer back the same way he wanted to. He's taking Ciara this time, perhaps? The light Gojo that is fresh out of the pre-ban prison.
Yeah, he is coming out to play now, and TRUEWHALE putting the Hey Gang in the pre-ban now. Maybe looking to go with a, you know, more aggressive turn 1 style comp with the Shiho available, and maybe into a Gianna as well.
And, you know, so another note too, these players are guildies, and JMac's been pointing out in chat too that, you know, his guildies are infighting right now. This is all-out war, civil war within Mali.
Yeah, it definitely is, and a bit surprised to see that VINNY doesn't take the Oliver away from TRUEWHALE and instead prioritizes this light Gojo, because you know the Gojo does only have a 24% speed lead, and giving TRUEWHALE the speed lead advantage is a dangerous thing to do.
It is. He takes his second 24. Let's see what's going on. Megami following up here. TRUEWHALE's picked a couple of these units already today. Somebody tell him.
Yeah, needs another high speed unit here. I don't think Masha is the unit. I would like to see maybe even a Wounds here, as much as, you know, I didn't like that so much earlier. I think, you know, VINNY's team is probably squishy enough to where you can kind of just cleave it down with a high speed unit. Now, if your Shiho gets banned out, I think VINNY will be taking the first turn and is going to have the upper hand in this battle.
And here comes Rakuni. Whoa, yeah, these players are kind of stealing each other's units right now. And it's being effective. TRUEWHALE taking the Masha this time, VINNY debating taking the Rakuni.
Yeah, VINNY also slowing down here, not actually fully committing that speed. You know, that TRUEWHALE did slow down that Masha as well as the Fire Megumi here. So now VINNY choosing to lock in that Rakuni for a little bit of sustain, as well as, you know, just provide turn cycling. So there is the offensive option that it has as well.
Okay, let's see what these players opt to ban.
Yeah, bans are coming out here. You know, TRUEWHALE does still have the speed advantage, but once again, if that Shiho gets banned out, I don't think he's going to be moving first. But then it's also a little bit of mind games here. Like, TRUEWHALE probably thinks the Shiho's getting banned out, so you don't really need to ban out the Efna. Now that the Efna is here, the Shiho is getting pretty hard countered by that. TRUEWHALE often just ban out that last pick of the Rakuni.
Here comes Shiho, starting us off. Will this Shiho land on this Okeanos? That's the question. Nope, he's going for the light Gojo instead. Still doesn't land it.
Oh, that is very unfortunate, but the Megumi is here to probably lock down this Okeanos. Yeah, Efna chooses not go for the Megumi, given it that attack bar. Could now lock down the Okeanos here, prevent it from stunning up the team, but goes for the Gojo and getting a huge violent proc.
Oh yeah, now he can take the immunity if he's so inclined. He really wanted to lock down that light Gojo so he doesn't take away all the immunity, I suppose. Oh! Whoa.
Oh, that
Here
is
we go.
such a... Yeah, the resistance was huge violent proc from the Megumi, but then gets resisted. So now Okeanos is free to use his skills and is going to be getting the reset on this monkey as well. And TRUEWHALE looking to be in a pretty bad position here, Evan.
Look at that, bro. Wow, really feeling the buff on Okeanos now that he can do that on both hits of that attack. So he can take both the invincibility on one and the immunity on the other. That was awesome. And just like that, VINNY with a 2-0 lead. VINNY suddenly a match point up against TRUEWHALE, who's the favorite in this tournament today.
Right, these have been extremely fast games, I mean, TRUEWHALE not wasting any time with that, leaving maybe a bit early, but I mean, in this case, I think, yeah, those games were pretty much over. And VINNY just making it look easy almost, he had a pretty rough time getting to this position, just barely eked out the victory against Panda-like in the quarterfinals, but now making TRUEWHALE look easy, who also got a 3-0 victory here.
Oh yeah, look at this, dude. VINNY's got to be feeling pretty good. Meanwhile, TRUEWHALE's about to lean in right now. He's got to get ready.
Yeah,
got to get ready to put a point on the board, because if he loses here, he loses that qualified position to VINNY.
Yeah, I know TRUEWHALE does not want to go to day 3. A lot of these players, they really just want to confirm their ticket today, be done with it, show up once and that's enough, then just relax until America's Cup. But TRUEWHALE has to do what LADRILLO did earlier, and he's definitely capable of that. But yeah, he does have to lock in here. These drafts, I definitely have favored VINNY's position in both of them so far.
Oh yeah, big time. I love what VINNY's been putting out for us. He's been showing really strong drafts, expertly navigating in game. I think this has been this is definitely showing why people love watching VINNY play.
Oh yeah, we love watching VINNY, and he is looking very good to make it the America's Cup, but it is not over yet. Now he does get the 33 speed lead here as well. TRUEWHALE opting to go for the Sierra instead for a bit more damage, and now we see the Hagan come up. I like this. Yeah,
it's about time. You present the AoE strip from the Jogun, Hagang should not be too far behind.
Yeah, definitely shouldn't. Also does counter the turn 1 from the monkey a little bit. Also, although it can be a little bit awkward, right? You can mess up the tuning and go on the Sierra and make it move into a full immunity team. So it's a bit awkward there, but still, protecting that turn 1, and now pairing up with that Wind Twin Angel to get the consistent buffs throughout the game.
It definitely provides consistent value. I just wonder if it's enough without one or the other. Will the Hagang be enough without it? Will the Wind Twin Angels be enough without Hagang? We'll have to see, especially when VINNY is bringing the heat with Aya and Juno.
Yeah, that is a pretty classic combo in this last 2-pick when the opponent doesn't present a whole lot of damage. So TRUEWHALE definitely needs a damage dealer in this last pick here, and Masha is exactly that. So I do like this pick coming out of TRUEWHALE, but VINNY is most likely just going to ban this out. So knowing that, what does TRUEWHALE ban out here? He could ban out the monkey to mess up, to prevent VINNY from messing up his speed tuning, but then he has to fight into both of these Aya as well as the Juno, with only really the Sierra as the damage dealer.
Yeah, I think you got to ban out one of those two. I'd probably say the Aya over the Juno, just because it's you incidentally land a stun because your Wind Twin Angel's on Despair. There you go. Yeah, something like that. You land the slow, you land anything, and it's just gonna hurt you. So Aya's just got that volatility to her. So it's good that he banned it. And of course, Masha is out, like you said.
She definitely does have that volatility. One violent proc in your team has lost half of its health. But Juno is a healer. Aya actually damages herself when she does that. But we also say that the Juno is off wheel, so this Juno might actually be losing, might be going turn 1. There's a lot of damage coming out of the Sierra bomb.
Oh yeah, now stacking all those debuffs on her is not great, because if she makes it, she's gonna heal if this glances.
Yeah, I think she's gonna make it out, and that is going to be a big heal coming from VINNY. Yeah, that is 12,000 heal, topping off everyone else. Juno's looking, still a little bit injured there, but definitely not in danger of dying either.
Yeah, and now TRUEWHALE's wondering, how am I gonna kill this thing? Because he's got to wait for that detonation to come back. Nothing else will really be enough. That's tough. VINNY sitting at game point, guys. This is a big deal for both players.
It really is. This could be it. The CR needs to get some violent procs. Oh my goodness. Instead you get countered and stunned.
You just keep going in. That's number 1 priority. Getting rid of that Ciara. Because if she can detonate a bomb, that's the way you kill the Juno.
It definitely is. Now getting the immunity up, so Jogan can't really use skill 3 here, because that would actually cleanse up this Ciara and potentially give her another bomb. So why is it just opting to go for that skill 1? Okeanos skill 1 will have to go on this Juno, and if Okeanos can get another skill 3 up, he might still be in this.
Wow, that is that's a huge takedown for Vinny. So now he's just going to eat the passive from Hagang, content with losing the Juno if he has to, but because now we're in a position where Shiho can kind of do it from here.
Yeah, Shiho could take it from here. Does have a skill 2 available. Juno does get the strip on that immunity, but Okeanos getting a huge violent proc himself, getting this lockdown back down, and TRUEWHALE is looking to make the comeback here.
That was absolutely a gigantic turn for him. Now, Jogun still has skill 2, so he can put away some of the threat that's coming towards the monkey in a minute, but he needs to get a gosh dang turn for that to matter.
Yeah, this monkey is almost gone and out of here, and he is not catching a break, getting stunned by that Wind Twin Angel on despair.
Oh my goodness, yeah, Vinny probably rolling his eyes at this one. TRUEWHALE excited to be making a comeback right now, fully locked in. Look at this, he's just whittling away at that Shiho, knowing that that's the biggest threat to him on the table. This is definitely anybody's game right now.
Yeah, it could still go Vinny's way here. You know, that monkey is hanging on barely, but it is hanging on, and Oliver does have skills available. Could look to cycle here, and so does this Jogun. So skills are available. Something is going that stroll, and monkey will get at least one more skill 1 off here.
Oh, do you put that? You put that in the scroll? I almost would have considered to put the Twin Angels in the scroll, and then try to stun the Oki. But you know, it's ultimately looks like it's going to be the same result because Oliver is controlling the heck out of these 2 units right now.
Yeah, I do like putting the Okeanos in the scroll because the Oliver can control these other 2 monsters, but you know, that is also going to be that Okeanos is going to be a bigger problem later in the game. So this could go either way. I think it's going to come down a lot to this Oliver. Can it land to absorb on this Okeanos? Because even those S1s from Okeanos are going to be doing a lot of damage. And
let's see, this is the America's Cup question right here. Can Oliver and Jogun clutch this up?
Yeah, can they clutch it up? You know, TRUEWHALE needs this win. He cannot lose. And I think Okeanos is going back in that stroll. And yeah, TRUEWHALE is not unable to take out this Oliver here. It's definitely going to control this Twin Angel here now.
Puts it back in, resists the cooldown reduction. Uh-oh. Now he's doing his dangest to control it. Oki comes back. He has nothing left in the tank. He's got to push him back right here. Otherwise, he could potentially start losing his Oliver if it crits. Did not crit. So now Oliver is going to put him on cooldown time. Here comes Jogun. He can cycle with skill 2 if he wants here, Topa.
Yeah, he can scroll, get the attack bar. Oliver now moves in front of the Okeanos. If he gets the attack bar here, it's over. He doesn't get the attack bar. There is still a... Oh my goodness, that is so low HP on the Okeanos. I think the skill 1 is going to do it.
And he does City with the 3-0 against TRUEWHALE.
Wow, what a performance from Vinny. That is incredible. Taking down TRUEWHALE is a feat in its own, but doing it 3-0? That is unheard of.
Unheard of, dude. TRUEWHALE, he was the favorite of this entire tournament, and he likely still will be on day 3, which is exactly where Vinny sent him. Unbelievable. Great try from TRUEWHALE to come back from that. I really thought that he had the point there, Topa, to be honest. It looked like he was taking that back.
Yeah, I thought so too, to be honest. But that Jogun, that stroll was actually just so powerful. Getting rid of that Okeanos consistently and not allowing it to deal that damage, you know. Okeanos... It did get a couple of violent procs early in the match, but was not able to clutch it up at the end, nor getting any crits to deal any significant damage there. And yeah, Vinny, the rune quality came through and pulled him to that victory there.
Yeah, 3-0 like that, that's crazy. Well done to Vinny. Congratulations to the Vinny fans in chat. I know this is increasing, you know, the Vinny lore is growing by the minute, dude. Like, it's crazy. What a showing, dude. And you know, I'll look forward to seeing more of TRUEWHALE next week on Saturday. If anything, this is a blessing because that just means we get to watch him play more.
Yeah, that is this game 3 was just so close. You know, that Juno barely hanging on. Getting that revenge on the Sierra as well was huge because had Sierra gotten one more bomb off, I mean, that would have been another dead monster right then and there. But ultimately, yeah, Vinny getting a little bit of, you know, better RNG in this set for sure, but still just absolute masterclass of drafting from him.
Totally, and it showed off the power of Jogun. You know, that attack bar boost, showed a lot. It actually came into play there towards the end, right? Because instead of cycling with the scroll, he was able to use skill 3, give the attack buff to Oliver, and boost ahead of the Okeanos. So he could kind of do that confidently, whereas pre-buff, he probably would have just cycled skill 2.
Yeah, absolutely. That skill 3, the attack bar boost, making the Oliver move in front didn't really matter that much in the end, since wasn't able to get the attack production. But still, Jogan just almost MVP there, right? I mean, it was the last monster left and was able to secure the victory.
Oh, it was really cool. I loved seeing what Vinny was bringing to the table there. His whole draft was always so much fun to watch. And now look at that, qualified for the America's Cup. We have our 2 participants. We've got LADRILLO and Vinny confirmed alongside Raigeki and Big B for the America's Cup in Brazil on October 11th.
Yeah, but that is only half of our qualified players. We still have day 3 of the preliminaries next Saturday, same place, same time here on the channel, and we will be finding 4 more competitors. And I don't know if we're gonna get a look at that bracket here right now, but I would love to see all those matchups here.
Oh yeah, because now we know how stacked it is, right? Because everybody who may have lost their set today or yesterday is going to show up again there. So this is great news for everybody who's just enjoying watching these games, because not only are we going to find our 4 other qualified for the cup, but we are going to get to watch more of the people that we love playing Summoners War, like TRUEWHALE and everybody else who lost their games today or yesterday. Dude, I'm excited, Topa. Can't wait for that.
Oh yeah, me too. There's all of our Brazilian representatives are in the lower bracket, and here it is. We see that very low part of the lower bracket. Match 4, Zessim versus Pandalike going into Zesas. So there will be a Brazilian representative at the America's Cup, which is crazy to see. And those are some banger matches we got coming up next week, Evan.
Yeah, that's a great observation. So they will have the home court advantage for at least one player going into the America's Cup proper on October 11th. This is going to be great. I'm really glad that we got to see a preview of what we're going to see on day 3 here. Look at that, dude. This is going to be so stacked. I love it. It's very well done for all the players. It's always a pleasure watching them. Looking back, Topa, do you have a favorite game that we watched today?
That we watched today? I think it would probably have to be ORKUT against LADRILLO, honestly. ORKUT just did so well, definitely blew me away with that. Not against, LADRILLO. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to close it out, but then that was also a great comeback to see from LADRILLO. The adaptation, the reverse sweep. That was awesome to see, Evan.
Yeah, that game had a little bit of everything. I also loved the STAYHIVE TUANTUAN opener as well. And you know what else I'd love to see, chat? You at the Cup, at the America's Cup on October 11th in Brazil. This is the page where you can register for that. If you can make it over to Brazil and have fun there in Sao Paulo with us on the October 11th, do so. You should stay tuned to our social media pages to see the exact venue on that too. Love to see you there in person. It is a free event. It'd be so much fun to have you there.
Yeah, that's going to be a great time in October, in Brazil. But what's also a great time is here. I believe we do have another little treat for you guys coming up here on the screen very shortly.
Oh yeah, more emblems, baby. That's what I'm talking about. I need to get me an LD scroll because I'm feeling the luck. 4 tickets left to BR, to Brazil. Look at that. That's our coupon code. It'll get you an engraved scroll along with energy as well as an SWC emblem. Oh, that's awesome. I mean, Vrad's coming up in the engraved scroll summons at the time of the stream too. So I might try to summon for him because somehow I still do not have a Vrad. That's real exciting. Yeah, it's been a stellar day, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been fantastic. Also, if you're summoning, remember, I hope you get some of those Tekken 8 units that you might have your eye on too. Topa, have you summoned since the last time? I know you didn't summon yesterday.
I haven't. I just finished the event, so I'm looking to summon here very soon and, hoping to get the light Hwarang maybe.
Awesome. All right, guys. Yeah, hopefully your summons go well. Summoners War is meeting with Tekken 8 right now in the ongoing collaboration. The Ultimate Showdown is happening right now on the Sky Island, so make sure to log in and enjoy the collab exclusive Nat 5 Heihachi giveaway event, collab scrolls, and more rewards. And of course, that's going on for a couple months now, so make sure that you engage with that while you can, do all the collab events as well, and participate in the newly revamped Dungeon 2. Topa, it's always a pleasure casting with you, man.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. We had some great games today, but, to you guys back at home, we have more games coming up next weekend, so hope to see you guys there then. But that is all for today, and we will see you next weekend.
That's right. See y'all next week for day 3 at the Americas Prelims. Bye, everybody. See you next time.